survive. Oh, alive.
I've been waiting for you to come through, for all of your promises to be true. It's heartbreaking and gray is the mood. I wanna believe in you. You can run and you can hide, learn to live with your denial. Oh baby, I'm losing faith, cut to the chase. I can read between the lines. to do. Don't let your demons define you. You can run and you can hide. Learn to live on your denial. Oh baby, I'm losing faith. Cut to the chase. I can read between the lines. Don't wanna live a borrowed time. Oh baby, I'm losing faith. Cut to the chase. You can run and you can hide. Learn to live on your denial. Oh baby, I'm losing faith. Cut to the chase. I can read between the lines. Don't wanna live a borrowed time. Oh baby, I'm losing faith. Cut to the chase. One chance for the world, one hope can save us now. Our time for history. Brave hearts will win the day. Run strong all the way. It's time for you and me. 'cause nothing can hold us down. On the ground, nothing can hold us down. On the ground, we can be heroes. We can be heroes. We can be heroes. Step up, take it on, no time. Together we will stand 2 feet. For better days, 'cause nothing can hold us down. On the ground, nothing can hold us down. On the ground, we can be heroes. We can be heroes. We can be heroes.
Hello and welcome to the pre-show. It is me, Valdez, and this may be a little bit of a surprise, but we are doing this for the first time this week. Hello. We're at the pre-show carpet space, I suppose you could say. I'm with Chronicler, and we're going to be talking a little bit about, what's been going on here at the LCK, what's happening with the patches and stuff like that. So, Chronicler, how are you doing at the beginning of this wonderful week?
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's the pre-show you know and love, but now it's at a carpet, which, as we all know, the carpet makes everything better. So, yeah, I'm really excited. My main highlight of the week has been that Malphite is now a champion that has been released, and to great success. I'm really happy to see that people are starting to realize how good this pick really can be, because he's been ignored for some reason for a really long time.
Yeah, we just we sent him back to the mountain where he came from, and we haven't seen him for a while, so happy about that. And there have been some other big picks as well. Obviously, the support Zac is one of my favorites, not just because Keria played it, but because we like the Zac, and we think it's pretty strong. You and I especially have been talking about it a lot off camera, and we're glad that we're kind of getting into this. But we're going to take a look at the standings first and foremost and give you guys a rundown of what is happening here at the LCK and where our teams stand.
Main highlight of the week, of course, is the final week, but there are still 2 playoff spots to be found, and there are 3 teams fighting over the ㅣ2022, KT, and the Guangdong Freaks. For the upper echelon, everything is fine, you know. DRX, DK, they can fight for the place, they can fight for seeding, but overall, they are very, very comfortable ahead of everyone else on the curve. Same for T1 and Genji, they even got the round 2 ticket already.
Yeah, it's definitely a good feel for those 2 teams. ㅣ2022 going to still have a pretty decent shot of making the playoffs here, even after unfortunately having to forfeit with the situation on their team. As you can see here, the road to playoffs, everybody and their probabilities for making it. Actually, the Guangdong Freaks having the highest probability, and that's something we were talking about even on the POG stage.
Yeah, it's mainly due to the teams that are still being faced by the other teams, right? And matters are still in the own hands of everyone. There is no one that is guaranteed in or out depending on other teams fully. But of course, that situation is going to worsen a little bit as we get deeper and deeper into the week. And we start off immediately, right, with KT versus Nongshim tonight, and that's a really, really important one, because if KT drops that one, then all bets are off for between KT and ㅣ2022, who gets that spot. Because as you pointed out, Guangdong looks to be the safest.
Yeah, we're also going to take a look here at the POG standings. There is one polar bear by himself at the very top. After that, we do have Deft in second place, and then 3 players tied for third. It all works out. What are your impressions on this, Chronicler?
Well, obviously Canyon's good. That part we knew. Also, yes. I think by far the best player on his team in terms of consistency. But the really cool thing is Deft and Faker being as high up as they are, actually having both incredible splits here. Faker, obviously part of the undefeated T1 roster and also flanked by some amazing players, but Deft is rise this split, rise to his former peak, I should say, has been super cool to watch. Also, sneaky Lava there, which it's really weird to earnestly be able to say that Lava you can make an argument for a top 3 mid, right? And that's kind of crazy, but it's really, really cool. He's been very consistent, and I'd really be wondering to see where he can bring the rest of his team.
Yeah, definitely some cool stuff. We are going to take a look at the pick and ban rate here for the last week. We did play 23 games, and Jinx has risen to the top here and is sitting at a comfortable 50% win rate.
Risen with Rise, who is still extremely high priority. Obviously, the Hecarim is another pick that I think is currently de facto the strongest jungler, has multiple build buffs that he can go for, and works into any composition. Jinx has kind of the same issue where you can look at win rate, but I think it's more telling that this champ is being B1'd by basically any team that gets the opportunity to and not get punished ever. Right? It says a lot about the strength of the champion when what is supposed to be a hyper-scaling carry is this strong. As I mean, we got to talk about the Kai'Sa, right? Because the rest of those were like, yeah, Viego is kind of a niche pick, so I think his high win rate is more people pick him in like very specific situations. But that Kai'Sa has been something that harkens back to the Corki days, and I'm not feeling great about it, Valdez.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys have missed, basically you go for an AP build or a hybrid AP build, and your W's start to nuke, maybe even more than Corki ever did. Not to mention that she can join fights really well. Yep. The one weakness that she has still, I think, is the laning phase and kind of getting to those 2-3 items where you can really pop off and be insanely oppressive, but it's still really strong, so we'll see if that gets more bans, more attention here in Week 9.
There's a lot of issues there with the pick being very flexible as well, where you can pick her, you can flex her mid, you can flex her towards the bot side of the map. As do not trust this. Sion is a great champion, okay? We still love Sion, even though he's not been doing as well. I think the real shocker here is Nautilus, who has been having a really, really rough week. But Nautilus is basically being picked every single game, so I think that this is something that we've seen in the past as well, where is Nautilus the best support? I'd say no. I think Tom Kench is something that's a little bit stronger. And I think Nautilus does have some answers, but clearly teams still highly prioritize it regardless of stature.
Yeah, absolutely. We are also going to take a look at some pocket picks that we have been seeing here at the LCK and take a look at some of the plays.
And yes, yep, yeah, it's finally here.
Hello.
We've been waiting for a really long time. Even was picked up in challengers as well by DRX is clear. And the game's actually a two-thing in common with it. I don't even feel like either top laner, Keen or Claire, was super comfortable in the champion. If you look at the laning phase and the ability that they had to find the right targets in team fights, but it didn't matter at all. It was ludicrous, and the champion should be picked more. As we get to look again, the AP Kai'Sa.
Yeah.
And it's something that started with the hybrid build, and now many of our players are just going for the full on AP build, just go Ludens into full nuke, and that build doesn't have a lot of counterplay.
We also got support Zac in here. We did have Keria pick this one up in game 2 against Fred Brion. Of course, a little bit of a sad matchup, but Keria took that opportunity to pull out the Zac and say, well, now you gotta consider just another pick that I might pick down here. He already had a Champion Ocean and plays it to an S+ tier, but now the Zac comes in. What are your thoughts on that? And of course, Renata Glass.
So Renata is, I think, a great pick. It's a little bit situational. The laning phase is very weak. A lot of better teams should be able to punish it. But into specifically dive comps, which we see a lot of with Kai'Sa and Hackerins, although AP Kai'Sa is a little different. It works really well, right? It's just not a pick that I think you should go for blind. It's not a pick that you should go for in any situation. It's more of a pick it in the right situation and the pick will shine. Whereas Zac support, I think it's just because Keria is that good. I think Zac is a really good champion, but it's again something that it's an R5 pick if the enemy doesn't have Poppy, doesn't have Thresh, has a laning phase that you can get through, because like once you get some levels in Elastic Slingshot, those roams, not fun.
Definitely not fun. Can be very impressive if you get ahead. I think both of those picks you could say about that. We're going to take a look at the patch here. So we are moving on to 12.5a is what I see as Seraphine.
Yes.
Here.
Seraphine buffs. Basically, previously, Seraphine leveling W was completely useless, didn't really do anything. The fact that they have changed that so that now W max is actually a viable choice. In addition to, I think, champions like Lux still being in a very good spot, should create a situation where she's pickable. Are we going to see her? Probably not. Maybe Rylai's needs another 200 gold shaved off of it, and maybe then we can start thinking about it. Outside of that, not happening, unfortunately.
Yeah, we do also have a couple of buffs here. Samira and Kennen receiving some small buffs.
And it's interesting because these champions are already on the cusp of viability, and we've seen this in the past as well, where champions keep getting buffed and buffed and buffed, and then they don't get picked up, and then people really start playing them and start to realize how strong it is. I think that both of these could be in a similar scenario. Kennen obviously great both with and into dive, and Samira already popping up a little bit more as a punish lane, and giving her a little bit more beefiness and the ability to find maybe multiple ults in early skirmishes is really, really strong.
Yeah, definitely will be seeing, I think, especially the Kennen a bit more here, a little bit more annoying in the lane. We do have some nerfs coming in. I think that the Ahri nerfs kind of,
They're okay.
Yeah.
The Gwen nerfs are absolutely gutting the champion because without that level 1, she's not very good anymore, which is fine.
Funny how
because
that
we were getting a little bit sick of her. At least based on challenges, since I was still high in prio. And keep in note, this is patch 12.5a.
Yeah.
There is also B, and B has nerfs to some of your favorite champions like Phelios, like Jinx, that maybe you're like, why are they not included? It's coming in the future. It's also a Master Yi rework, which if you play solo queue is very relevant. For competitive, not so much.
Yeah. Also, some nerfs to Hullbreaker here. A little bit less just buy it on everyone now. I think maybe some more specific scenarios you might be seeing this item.
That's the main thing. Graves going Hullbreaker into every matchup is not going to be nearly as good if you look at the amount of armor and magic resist that you were able to get, right? It is pretty aggressively neutered, and I do think that this also means that Blind Graves, which thankfully had already dropped in prior, is also going to be even less exciting due to the fact that Tryndamere basically gets buffed by this into the Graves matchup, right? It was kind of had become somewhat of a neutralizer. That's not the case anymore. Also means that we'll see less Narsko Hullbreaker, which I am always going to be happy about. So I think for our enjoyment and everyone watching, this is a big win.
Yeah, I think it was a long time coming, you know?
Yeah.
Once we saw the Rek'Sai building it in the jungle, I think people began to have question mark pings around their head and say, what the hell is going on? Whether that was a great idea or what, just makes you feel like, okay, maybe the item was a little bit stronger than it was supposed to be.
I like that you leave it in the middle. It's like, maybe that wasn't the right choice. Maybe don't build it on Rek'Sai. No, I'm happy that it will hopefully be built less now. Although it's not nerfed for melee, so maybe we can still see Hullbreaker Rek'Sai.
Maybe some Hullbreaker Rek'Sai on the top side of the map. More Tryndamere buffs, or more Tryndamere play, I would assume, could be the thing. We do have the last week of the LCK this time. There are no roster changes, although you might see some emergency call-ups based on the trends here at the LCK. We're also going to take a look at the schedule and kind of break down what we do have here for Week 9.
And obviously, a lot of the matches are extremely important, either in terms of playoffs, like Nongshim versus KT, or any match that KT, Kwangdong, or Fed Brian play this week. And on the flip side, for Damwon Kia and DRX, it's more about the placement. Can you get a higher seed going into playoffs? Can you showcase your dominance over what is probably going to be one of your close competitors? Is going to be really, really important. And also a possible continuation of the T1 streak, because I don't think Liv Sandbox is going to have a great time up against them. So it's all up to you, DRX. Good luck.
Yeah, and we're taking a look at some predictions. So they do this on the Korean side. We decided, hey, we can do this as well here now that we have a pre-show. You'll notice that we're all the same except for one matchup, which is Nongshim versus Hamalei Split.
There's another thing, and that's that you're the only one cracking a great smile, and we were all told not to smile. And it's like, it's three grumpy Gus's and nappy Veldas, which I love. I think the Nongshim versus Hamalei matchup is extremely volatile. I wouldn't even be surprised to randomly see Nongshim win here tonight against KT. Considering the fact that KT will have a lot of pressure on them, but this also shows...
Or DRX over Damwon Kia. You know, that's another match, right?
No,
if
I
Death
agree.
shows up big, or if, you know, Damwon Kia don't have their best day. That was one where I actually put a lot of thought into it, but we all ended up with the same result. Damwon Kia looking a little bit stronger, a little bit more consistent, but, you know, we don't know. It's going to be a close match, and that's why it's our match of the week.
It is really exciting because on one hand we have DRX that are very much on the upswing, right? Between Kingen and Zeka all playing so much better. But then it's Damwon Kia, and it's Maker and Kenyon.
It's going to be a great match that will be tomorrow, of course, Thursday for that one. But tonight, also a couple of matches that mean a whole lot here for the LCK. But that's going to do it for us here at the pre-show. I hope you guys did enjoy this. We'll be doing this in the future as well. But for now, let's go over to the cast and start the day.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Spring 2022. We have made it. It is the final week of the regular season, and that means the race for playoffs is over for a lot of our teams, but is also extraordinarily tight for 3 particular teams trying to make it there. Of course, first we do need to address some of the issues that have been plaguing the LCK. Of course, COVID-19 has really kicked us in the butt this season. There is no doubt about it. And unfortunately, Fred Brion are incapable of fielding a team for our second match today. All of their challenger players have caught COVID as well as their main roster, and so they're unable to actually field a team, which means that they will be getting a 0-2 forfeit. I think it also means that the games are considered 15-minute games as well. So just absolutely terrible. This is something that was agreed upon at the beginning of the season by all the teams as far as what would happen if a team was unable to actually field the team. And there is a statement on the LCK Twitter as well if you want to read more about it. But yeah, it just sucks, man.
It really does. And so we will only have one best of 3 for you guys tonight. And it is the most important one, arguably, of the week. Nongshim up against KT Rolster here. As we take a look at the playoff contention, you can see it behind us. This is going to be so impactful for 3 teams in particular, because for KT right now, they're sitting at a 6-10, the same score that Kwangdong Freaks sit at. Fred Brion are at a 7-10. It's expected they will take 7-11 to close out the season. Their last match is against Damwon Kia. You can see the difference because of this, impacting KT's playoff probability per game. So a difference between a 1-2 victory here for KT Rolster versus a 2-0 victory pushes them up to almost 90%. It is massive. Now, a loss almost means it's guaranteed that if Fred Brion end up taking even a single game off Damwon Kia, they could actually stop them in their tracks.
Yeah, exactly right. And Fred Brion are 100% the biggest Nongshim fans in the universe right now. They'll be sitting at home, coughing and spluttering probably, but also rooting for Nongshim to see whether they can knock KT down a peg or 2. As Peter is back in, does certainly feel a little bit like Peter Pan and the Lost Boys at the moment, as Nongshim really have been struggling.
They really have. Both Peter and Effort in particular have been weak links for the team, and Nongshim have struggled to actually figure out which of these 2 players actually is going to be their main support for this roster. And once again, it's Peter. Would not be shocked if he loses in game 1 that they actually bring Effort in a best of 3 like this, especially because their playoff chances, as you mentioned, are moot. They're just playing spoiler tonight for KT Rolster, and they're on Team Fredit, basically, because it is so important for Fredit Brion to actually have KT have the worst possible game score at the end of this series. Not only are they hoping for a Red Force win here, they're hoping for a 2-0. As we're talking about Rascal's solo kills a lot, man. And it's like records just keep being broken. He's only got 2 matches left to pass Marin, but it's certainly possible here with 6 kills the gap.
Yep, it's absolutely crazy. Like, this guy had the most solo kills all of last year as well, at like 21 and 22 for each season. We were a little bit light on the solo kills that time around. I don't think anyone's catching Marin from 2015. I mean, he was World's MVP. The guy was just absolutely insane. So Rascal's certainly got his work cut out for him if he wants to get another 6 solo kills in the 2 remaining series. But it's Rascal, and he's got more than 3 in a game in the past as well. I believe he started the season, and by week 3, he had like 14. So you wouldn't put it past him. He could potentially get there, but this guy has just been so good on the top side of the map.
Yeah, and with the matches they have, KT face Nongshim today, and then he will, of course, have to try to get those last few against Doran later on in the week. So pretty exciting, actually, kind of how this lines up for him against his former team at the end of the regular season. But that's not a matchup we're seeing tonight. That'll be later on in the week, as here are the team stats for both of these in round 2. Both have been struggling. It's no secret. KT also had a much stronger round 1 than they did round 2, which is why they're in this very precarious position around playoffs. You can see the champion kills per minute here, a little bit higher for KT, a little bit more of a skirmishy team, like to play early, but they still haven't been able to drag that gold lead ahead at 15 or 25 on average.
Yeah, pretty nice on the side of Nongshim Red Force for their combined kills per minute, but otherwise the stats aren't necessarily going to paint a very nice picture. I think one of the most egregious ones, that team gold difference at 25 minutes, Nongshim Red Force when things don't go well, they definitely go really, really, really poorly for this squad. And they just haven't found a way to get themselves together. Of course, illness been plaguing them. BDD has been outspoken that there were ongoing effects afterwards as well that really did affect his ability to concentrate properly on the game and things like that. And it's just a crappy situation, guys.
It really is.
It's just not very good. In fact, we're going to be talking about it a lot today until we finish early, which makes me extraordinarily sad.
Yeah.
This is what we do. We're here for the LCK, and when there can't be LCK, we get very upset.
It's really interesting in terms of the results of everything that happened to Nongshim here, because we had two teams, DRX and Guangdong Freaks, have a huge uptick at the end of the season. They looked way better at the end than they did at the beginning. And Nongshim is the exact opposite. Like, they actually looked really strong out of the gates at the beginning of the season. Everyone was excited about this, pseudo super team roster they put together and how strong it would be with Ghost and Effort as a bottom duo. BDD, the star from Worlds, when he was on top, he was looking fantastic. But to close out the season, it feels like we end it with a whimper here. But can Nongshim win this series tonight, play spoiler to KT Rolster, and get a little bit of glory at least to end the season? That's what this is about for them.
Yeah, exactly right. And there's not a lot of pressure on Nongshim now, right? They're out of the race for the playoffs. That is not a thing that's on the table, so you may as well just go down swinging, see whether you can take a series away from KT like they were able to in the first round robin. It was a 2-1. It was relatively close. However, the reverse sweep in the best of 3 was picked up by Nongshim Red Force. KT, though, have been powering up over the last few matches, and I'm looking forward to seeing, whether we are going to have the Rascal show once again.
And another star for this roster, and as he walks out on stage right there in front of you, is Aiming, because he's also been playing the Kaisa to great success. A lot of those wins and a lot of the games in total that we actually showed for Kaisa's pretty impressive win record right now were played by this man. And I think that considering his strength on the champion, something Nongshim definitely needs to look at here in the draft, because it's not nerfed on this patch. We had a lot of changes across the board, but no AD carry changes really. And I think it is going to be high priority. This also, I don't know if it was mentioned on our pre-show, this will be the patch we play for playoffs and the grand finals for LCK Spring. So this is the last patch. We're not going to have any of those crazy changes to the bottom side, not until MSI.
Yeah, not quite. So we don't actually get to go into the 12.5B patch, which is going to gut both Aphelios and Jinx just a little bit. So a little bit of a shame that we will be remaining in the Jinx and Aphelios meta for a little while longer, but that was sort of transitioning out just a little bit. So hopefully we don't see too much stagnation down there on the bottom side. As solo kills for round 2, 10 for Rascal and 6 for Canna. Always something that we're going to look at when Rascal is on a team. But damage percent, massively high for Canna. This team relies on him if they are going to win games. So looking forward to seeing some of that Jace priority and things like this in the draft to try and get that top side of the map rolling, allow Ghost to do what he does best, which is sit there and take abuse in the bottom lane, and then come out just fine at the end, right? That's what he got famous for. It's how they won Worlds when he was on Damwon Kia. And so looking forward to seeing whether that is finally going to come together for Nongshim, because, like, oh man, I feel like we say it every single time. Like, on paper, this team should be good.
Yeah. I will add that something that was discussed on the desk with the Hullbreaker nerfs for ranged champions. I think Kana is the one who will be most impacted because he's played Graves so much. He was one of our Hullbreaker Graves players. And I don't think the priority will be as high for his Graves as a result, just because it's simply the most affected champion right now in this meta for Hullbreaker. So definitely something that hurts his chances going into this matchup with Rascal in the top lane.
Yep. Also Gwen, one of Canna's favorites as well. And getting half of that range snipped off is definitely not going to be great for the Gwen on the top side. I think there are still places where you can pick her, but it's not going to be a very fun time for Gwens any longer. Which means, like, we have seen a lot of blind Gwen picking and things like this, and I think that has been 100% removed now with these nerfs.
Yeah, I think the Jace priority is definitely one to look at here, as we are getting right into it. This match so important for KT Rolster. A 2-0, basically I don't want to say it's a must-win 2-0 scenario, but it affects them so much. It gives them such a better chance. And so we'll be keeping an eye on that, as the Jinx will be taken away from Aiming right away. Something we've been seeing in a lot of drafts against KT.
Yeah, absolutely. No Jace as well, so that's what I was calling for. So KT were listening, and I think having a look at some top lane priority in reference to Nongshim is going to be a big thing, right? Like, I love this because it's sort of both sides of the coin, right? KT really likes to play through aiming and life there towards the bottom side of the map, and Nongshim almost always play through Canna.
Yeah.
And if they're going to win, it's Canna and Dread doing good things on the map.
Yeah.
The meta doesn't necessarily suit, but it is something that they have been good at.
I really do love that this draft is so pointed towards the very clear win conditions for both teams and which players have had the most impact. And the real curious thing now is where the first pick priority is going to be on 12.5A, because Ahri is a champion that we've seen slotted into this spot when the Hecarim is removed, when we have the 80 carries that are S tier also banned away. But I don't know if Nongshim will actually put BDD on the champion because he hasn't looked great on it, and some of those mana nerfs are actually going to really hurt Ahri's ability to play on this patch. I think she'll still be picked up by some of the top teams in the LCK, but will Nongshim lock her in right here? I don't think so, and we don't know yet where that new priority is going to be. Will it be on something like the Kai'Sa that we've seen so much success with? It's hard to really guess. I'm not going to throw darts at the board. I want to see what Nongshim have planned here.
Zeri is available.
True.
And so she will be locked.
And but they pivot back, and the Caitlyn being banned was why I was feeling like the Zeri was going to be the right choice here, because you don't have the Jinx, range problem. You don't have the Caitlyn push problem. Now you can run into things like Karma Ezreal, but they lock in the Ahri just the same, and it's somewhat of a pick away from Vikla, I'd say.
Vikla had a fantastic Ahri, especially in that series against T1 that they lost, but he also was definitely a standout performer.
The Volibear priority here is kind of a KT exclusive. It's a Cuz exclusive here, and he is going to lock it in. 83% win rate on this champion right now across very few games, 6 games in total. And I think the Kai'Sa does come here in this slot because it's the strongest AD carry right now for aiming in the meta of champions available. And there's not really a great answer for it just yet.
Yeah, I mean, he is likely to lock it in. Aiming has been gravitating towards it. It is very interesting that we've seen the Zeri slip so far because she was such high priority. Regardless of her power level, teams still absolutely loved either first banning her or picking her up very, very early in these drafts. Not going to be the case for KT. They identify that aiming has been great on this Kai'Sa, outside of that one killer instinct that wasn't necessarily the greatest. But we prefer not to harken back to that too much. In subsequent games, they have done very, very well. And this is KT coming off a 2-match win as well. Very decisive victories, but I guess over lower tier teams, you might say.
Yeah.
And, Viego will be locked in, and it looks like we're just back to that Kai'Sa Xayah meta that we loved so much.
Oh.
This I like. I'm kind of into seeing some Ghost Zeri.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think that given that KT have the ability to pile onto this super hard with the Killer Instinct and the Volibear, it can be quite difficult, but she can outpace the Volibear in a lot of team fights. Also, there's a lot of peel between the Ahri and the Viego already for things like the Killer Instinct, so I really love this, though, for Vikla, because he's been a standout player on the Vex, and now he's going to have even more long-range engage to pile on top of this champion. The alternative could have been to grab the Nautilus here. Despite its low win rate last week, I think that it's one of the best options you're still going to have against Zeri. But closing the gap between the Ahri, between the Viego, and actually getting that ult to hit onto the Zeri, easier said than done. The Vex is going to be a great lock-in here to actually kind of guarantee long-range engage and the burst damage that comes with it.
Yeah, and I really love it in tandem with Kai'Sa. It's like your Shadow Surge and the Void Seeker, both basically the same ability, except one of them you can shoot a Yordle off immediately afterwards. So it does mean that the follow-up to some of this poke, if the skill shots are going to land, is going to be really exciting. So it becomes like a poke comp that is also a pick comp if you manage to land the Shadow Surge on the Void Sort champion, which is really, really cool to see. I'm excited to see whether it is actually going to work out, especially paired with this early game jungler, because should be able to help increase the tempo here for KT.
Speaking of tempo, I do think that Rascal is probably going to be relegated to a split-pushing champion of some kind in this draft so that KT won't be dictated by vision only. Their ability to engage can allow them to force rotations from Nongshim. As the Akali is banned, Tryndamere taken away from Rascal. I like that one a lot. as we thin out the pool here. The Alistair ban on life is quite interesting because it can be pretty frustrating to lane against this. If he gets ahead with the Kai'Sa, then Zeri just cannot play the game. But there were a lot of other options they could have banned instead, like the Nautilus that is still kind of hovering over KT's brains right now. Will they lock it in? And I think the answer is just going to be yes. Again, very high risk into Nongshim's composition, but I think it's the best. He's the best man for the job, right? Shut this Zeri down, lock her down, allow that damage to come through.
Well, it is going to open the door for Canna to lock away his Graves if he would like to. Canna, of course, does like to default back to a pretty narrow champion pool, but has a lot of mastery on said champions, right? So this is definitely one of them.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to lock it in here with the Tryndamere band away, and this is going to be very comfortable for Kana. And despite the nerfs on the Hullbreaker, he can still build it. It still gives you a lot of resistances. It's not as automatic, your safety, as it was before, but still, it's definitely a style you can play. And as you mentioned, he's the most, is so critical for their damage later on as a player, and this champion suits him. As Renata Glass for the Zeri allows an already difficult to lock down champion to potentially be rezzed. And also the ultimate is so great into champions that want to dive on top of Nongshim. Berserk the Kai'Sa, Berserk the Volibear, and then suddenly KT kind of have to play it slower. And then that gives you just enough time to do the damage you need.
Yeah, I think it does sort of limit a lot of Nongshim's engage capabilities and things like this. As Rascal back to an old favorite, as we've got bears and crocodiles, oh my, running around on the top side of the map. So KT will lock away the Renekton. R5 Renekton, you can put your kick W's in the chat.
Yeah,
but this is Rascal, and this guy absolutely loves the croc. So you're not going to hold it against him picking this one up. Keep your eyes on the solo kills as well to see whether he can reach Canna's record, which was 28. That is second place on our leaderboards, behind Marin with 31 in 2015, which is just insane, as we saw in our pregame.
I really like this pick the more I think about it, because at first when I saw it, I was like, oh, well, this really changes how KT have to play the game. They're not going to be able to rely as much on Kai'Sa's late game damage and scale up because of the Renekton. But when you have already kind of pretty guaranteed control of the bottom side of the map in Zeri's early game, you can really put the focus with this Volibear pick on top side, get some of those kills for Rascal, snowball him early, take objective control. Then it becomes so difficult to catch up the pace of the game as the Zeri because you fall so far behind. You lose those structures early, especially a mid-turret. Your farming becomes a big challenge. Kana's not going to be a survival with the nerfs to Hullbreaker here on the Graves. So KT have the ability to really get the tempo moving fast this game and just shut Nongshim out of the game, prevent the Zeri from getting to 2-3 items, win the game at 30 minutes, and that's your game plan.
Yeah, it's so interesting looking at like this KT Rolster comp, which looks, if you've ever seen a comp like this, like straight up dive composition, right? Like you just want to get into that back line, like let your Kai'Sa pop off, but actually what it kind of is now is like a poke comp, like because of the ridiculousness that is the AP Kai'Sa there coming in from the bottom side. And so Rascal is going to be in charge of doing a lot of the physical damage in this game. There is not a whole lot of it running around, as aiming will have a little bit, of course, very much a hybrid, but when you're relying on Void Seeker damage, it's like you've got double AP in a crocodile. So itemizing magic resist is going to be something very, very powerful for Nongshim in this game.
Yeah. It is pretty massive to see, like, the Hullbreaker nerfs as well, like, really hurt Kana's ability to tank up a lot of that damage in side lane and put a lot of pressure on. And we'll see what he ends up building. He might still build it regardless, as I was saying before, because it's still good. It's just less good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not really a like there were a lot of opinions about Hullbreaker just in general. A lot of people just thought it was straight up bad. And not even worth picking even when it was strong.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll affect Canna too much. We'll see where he does decide to go when it comes to the build. Certainly a bunch of different options.
Yeah, he might just go for the bloody build with the, Immortal Shield Bow as
level 1. Oh dear, the flash forward, but the hook's gonna miss. They get the flash out from BDD, but yeah, that was a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, if he hits that and they get that kill and the flash on the BDD, it is such a great start. But instead, not only will they fail the kill, they lose the Nautilus flash. He's got Hex Flash, but this wave is going to crash into turret here. It will cost aiming some CS and a little bit of experience even as well.
Yeah, Hex Flash over that wall, and yeah, aiming is going to lose 2 CS. I think he managed to get the experience for one of them. Nice hook is going to land as Life is going to prove that he can hit him, just not the first one.
Now, Peter, you know, we've talked a lot about Peter's Yumi, for example, his Enchanter supports kind of being his background. And Renata does suit his playstyle quite a bit, but it is a matchup here in this lane that is very volatile against the Kai'Sa, and if a good hook lands, sorry for the misspeak there.
Yeah, you're right.
Then, you know, suddenly Renata dies and this lane can explode and aiming can get massively ahead. So you've got to play this one really safe because it's the Zeri lane, right? Now they're very happy to get level 2 first and actually lead the lane. Like, this is very rare for any Zeri matchup.
Ooh, nice max range charm there from BDD as Vikler is going to take a lot of damage. Ends up flashing, gets the fear off in the end though as the Q is going to go wide. And so no mid laners are allowed to flash this game in the early stages, and Life just having a great time. I just love watching engaged support players having fun with their Hex Flash. I think it is just the greatest keystone for a lot of these players. Life utilizing it just as if he was playing set, you know?
Yeah, it's you know, something that we always will give him credit for in this early laning phase. Level 1, level 2, he's going to flash in there, he's going to look for the plays. Doesn't hit the dredge line in mid, but still, he's going to non-stop use that Hex Flash. So Cuz nearly steals.
Close, yeah. Cuz not going to invest the smite to try and take that one away, but could have if he'd made it around the corner a little bit quicker. Going to check out his win rate on this volley bear. Over 75%, not too bad at all.
Yeah, that's a lot of games played too. He's really just been quite the standout volley bear player.
Early game junglers, definitely Cuz's MO.
Yeah.
We know him as the Rek'Sai guy from all those years ago, and the volley bear, similar in how it does operate in the early stage.
And KT have really like gone all in on his play style as well. Like, you add Cuz and Life to this team and suddenly it's like, oh, okay, like, yeah, we should just always be aggressive early all the time no matter what.
Yeah.
That has been KT's MO with the exception of Aiming's new Kai'Sa that we're seeing here. They're going to try to push this wave, and this again normally happens to the Zeri, just happening a little bit slower this time around because of KT's early level 1 in mid. Yep. And so far, you know, for KT, everything's going according to plan. It's really going to be around these Rift Herald fights, the first 2 Drakes, where they look to win team fights, get this Kai'Sa accelerated, get those AP items online, and then become a threat.
This is really, really important for Nongshim. They are going to be able to find a lot of damage onto Aiming, but it's Life that they're going to take down. Hex Flash not going to get you out of this danger, and that is a very easy first blood delivered to Ghost on the bottom side. And look at KT's vision investment on the bottom side of the map as well. Like, that's where they were trying to leverage all of their power, and Dread just sneaks through and grabs that first blood.
Really smart play from Dread, good pathing there, and knowing that KT are going to be trying to push forward aggressively with this Nautilus pick and get an early kill for the Kai'Sa or threaten Zeri, force her to lose minions as we see all the time in Zeri lanes. But punishing it extremely well, and no counterplay here for Cuz except to try to steal this Gromp, and he will fail to do that. Well, Rascal's coming down, so maybe...
Yeah, there are 4 people here. I think this Gromp is worth giving up.
Yeah, his life is actually still, you know, hanging around. Needs to be respected.
Yeah. Hex Flash available.
Yeah.
Peter turns up though, and they're just going to shove out this wave. We don't have any Rift Heralds to look at just yet. Still a couple of minutes away from that one. As Cannon wants to shove this one, and Rascal is going to do exactly the same thing. Misses the cannon. Where's the zoom in? Jonas strong. Come on, mate.
There we go.
There, you got that one. Cannon's able to sort that one out. 75% win rate here for Rascal, and that is a lot of games played there as well. You can see 24 and 8. Not bad at all.
Yeah, and okay, hold the phone. Dread's coming over here. Vision controlled.
Yeah, well, Cuz is immediately going to walk on in here. Decent stun to come through as Dread's definitely dead. Vikler stays alive, and he even has the fear on deck if he needed it. BDD gonna have to dash away. Uses the last charge of his ultimate in order to do that.
Fantastic.
That's a great counter game.
Fantastic play from Cuz. Hits the stun perfectly where he needs it to be, under turret there. And it was after a really nice setup for BDD with the charm. He comes in basically at point blank range, guarantees the charm hits. They have that follow-up CC. This is why Ahri and Viego are such a powerful duo into a lot of different matchups.
Yep.
And, you know, Vex able to get the fear off here as well and survive long enough. Super critical play, but Cuz just surprising them there. Didn't have any vision around the Raptor camp, had no idea he could just flash over and make the stun play. Really nicely played.
Feels a little bit like it was overly aggressive there from Nongshim, but I do like the idea as Canna is going to come on through, look to steal away this red buff. Actually, no, looks to leash the red buff for Rascal, and Rascal decides that he does not want it. That'll go over to the bear.
It's so funny, too.
Yeah,
because he's
ships
like,
in the night.
He's like, well, I'm going to take away your blast cone. He's like, I'm Graves. And he just quick draws over the wall.
Oh, that hook from Life as well. So whoopsie.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to explain here. It's a really nice pathing from Dread, and Life gets punished. As over here, this is the really cool play, because it's like, oh, I will absolutely just go over the wall here. Sets up the stun perfectly onto Dread. Vikla survives here, and they almost traded into a double there. If actually he's able to get another Q off, actually might happen there, but...
I like looking at like what Cuz did there. He went for the walk around, but then realized that he wouldn't have enough time to actually stop his mid laner from going down without flashing the wall, and made the correct decision in a very quick amount of time. Really, really smart stuff there from Cuz. Love to see it.
Yeah, his Volibear is really just quite impressive, and even in a game like this where he hasn't been able to gank aggressively early, that counter gank works out so extremely well. His reaction time there is great. And now KT, with the timing of this, have a lot of prio on Rift Herald. You know, the Ahri in mid isn't going to be able to rotate over here and make a big impact. Graves getting pushed in. So you're feeling great as KT right now, because you also feel pretty comfortable that they're not taking the Drake. So you might even be able to get a second objective here.
Yeah, I mean, they
did actually take it. Yeah, they did actually take it, so my bad on that.
Yep, and there was also a control ward sitting in that brush as well that Dread walked over. So KT, with full knowledge of what they were capable of doing, grabbed themselves the Rift Herald. You can see Cuz went back. I thought maybe there was a chance that they'll use that on the top side to allow Rascal to get a bit of a snowball going, but that doesn't look to be the decision that they're going to make just yet.
Yeah. See where they do end up putting this. I think the mid lane is the most valuable turret to take, but, you know, do you need to give the money to Vikla right now? Not necessarily. You know, I think top or bottom is where you want the gold, but getting the turret down in mid really limits Ghost's opportunities to farm in the mid game. It makes them a lot less safe, a lot more vulnerable out there. So we'll see what they decide to do with this, because I think they have a lot of different options.
Yeah.
Like, all three lanes are good for KT to drop it in, is basically what I'm trying to say here. Like,
yeah,
there's no losing.
You can't really get too upset with any of the decisions, honestly. And Cuz utilizing it for a few minutes as well to get some empowered recalls in certainly does make a bit of sense also, as Nongshim move back towards this mid lane with Dread, but he's just going to go back home now, grab himself a bit of a reset. We'll see how close he is towards his Divine Sunderer. As he does decide to go back, just gets a Ruby Crystal. So not that close.
Still a ways away.
Yeah.
As, you know, I really do appreciate the amount of attention the observers have given to Rascal's laning here against Kana. He's been doing very great on the Renekton.
Yep. This is one of those things where picking Renekton into Graves seems like real questionable.
Yeah, it's like,
But then you put into context the nameplates, right? It's Rascal. This guy just likes to pick Renekton into everything ever. It does not matter, and sometimes we realize that we kind of have to just believe in him.
Yeah, and you know what? He never lets us down, does he?
Yeah.
As they are going to drop this mid. And there's a lot of people here.
Yeah, Peter shakes her hand, but Shelly will still charge into the turret. No agreements actually met there, I guess, between Renata and Shelly. She still decided that that's what she wanted to do, and all the power to her. You know, that's her job. She will do it.
Cuz picking up 320 there. Again, not the most amazing in terms of setting up for gold or things like that, but the ability to take that turret out now is so much easier for KT, and it's the most valuable of the three outer turrets.
Yep.
So something to keep a bit of a focal point on later on. As this game is going very much slower than I expected it to be. I thought with a Volibear pick here, we just see non-stop ganks trying to dive on top of Kana post level 6 for Cuz, but nope, they're just happy with a small lead that they got in some places on this map, right? The kill they got with Cuz there in the mid lane, the push they're hoping to get, and the lead they're trying to get on the bottom side with the Kai'Sa pick. But it does make you wonder, have KT done enough?
Yeah, well, Rascal's going to get his Conqueror proc, looking for a bit of damage onto Canna. Does find the trade. Works out quite well. Level 8 here for Cuz, so he can turn off some turrets if he decides to head over there, but not going to give away his position just yet. And Rascal and Canna just fighting this one out. Rascal pretty happy that the Hull Breaker has been nerfed on ranged champions.
Yeah.
And is still able to go toe-to-toe with Kenna at this stage. As Aiming taking a lot of damage here. Ghost throws down the ulti, actually, as Extendo Beam not going to connect as it goes through the turret, and Aiming's just going to walk this one out.
Yeah, feeling pretty good about the ultimate being down here for Ghost now. As this has been such a great lane for Ghost. Obviously, as Kai'Sa in the laning phase, you're a little bit weaker than a lot of other AD carries, and with the lead that Ghost picked up in the lane early, it's kind of carrying that momentum, life dying early as well. Yep, that extra kills.
There's the flash. It's going to get the flash out of Peter. Much better aim here from Life, who's got his eye in
there you
stage
go.
of the game.
45 seconds until this Drake comes up, so grabbing that flash is actually going to be really massive on one of the squishiest and easiest champions to pick off here in a fight like that.
Yep.
As Rascal, has teleport, but it's not empowered just yet. It looks like he's just going to hold this wave, not going to try to back at this timing. And this is a really critical Drake for KT to take, because if they actually don't get this Drake, nor do they get a fight here, it's really hard for this Renekton and Volibear duo to actually stay relevant through the mid game. And the Kai'Sa is going to be the late game win condition with the Vex.
No, absolutely. It's really interesting. If we sort of, as we move towards the mid game, kind of break down what these two comps want to do, right? Like, Dread and BDD, both of them looking for resets, right? So it's really screaming pick composition and controlling vision, and then allowing your composition that doesn't necessarily have a lot of initiation options, right? You've picked Renata towards the bottom side. There's no Alistar, Nautilus, or Leona, or things like that to really go in early. They want to play around 4-1 as well. So it's not about starting fights. It's more about kind of avoiding them until you can catch your opposition by surprise. Yeah. Whereas KT have a dive/poke composition with this new and improved Kai'Sa, and they're going to set up around this Drake, and it looks like Nongshim are going to give that one up, which I think is the smart
It's the right call for sure. I was very worried for a moment that KT were actually just simply not going to group around this, and Nongshim were going to be able to actually get enough prio to where it was a fight they could realistically take, but KT did come in just in time. You can see all the control wards here. This is going to be an Infernal Drake, which is massive for both sides.
September coming early with the Earth, Wind, and Firewolf.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I think that KT are going to be very happy with this, considering their composition gives a lot more longevity to this Volibear, to this Renekton in this comp. As we're not there yet with the Void Seeker's poke.
Yeah, not quite.
But we're getting closer, I suppose, eventually.
4 plates for Azeri on the bottom side. Man, Ghost is really looking like a win condition right now for Nongshim.
He really is, and that early kill onto Life, as well as the failed gank in mid, invade almost you could call it, to the lane there, very early on in the game, which was very tricky and surprising and a cool set play, but it didn't work. Means that Azeri got a free pass here on the bottom lane, which almost never happens, so she's feeling great.
Yeah.
And she demolishes turrets, demolishes plates with her auto attacks.
Well, Vikla is going to get the fear onto Dread here, throws out the Shadow Surge, and who's ganking who? What the heck?
Oh, Cuz once again coming over here to save the day, but yeah, that was a very risky moment for Vikla otherwise after using the Shadow Surge there, and ends up being bloodless at the end of the day.
That was like, Vikla called his cousins, and then when his cousins arrived, he was like, oh no, never mind, it's fine. I won the little battle. It's totally okay. You can chill.
This is problematic. That's first turret going over to the Zeri.
Yeah.
She's just sitting in the side lane. Mid turret's still up, so she can freely farm there as well without any problems. Nongshim looking great right now through this mid game.
Certainly. Canna up towards this top side as Rascal's looking for a solo onto Ghost. Teleport will come through though as Ghost trying to dash this one out, but the gap is being closed. Canna turns up though, and I think Rascal may have ran out of time. He's trying to walk this one out. The flash is going to be used to get over the wall as Ghost is dashing after him. Peter's now walking through the jungle as well, and there's, oh, Rascal tries to turn it. The bailout comes in and Ghost gets himself back alive. It was almost
so
cool.
Beautiful. It was almost another 1v3 solo kill for Rascal, but he is taken out. Now, on the top side of the map, meanwhile, they did secure the second Rift Herald here. They are looking to give a full turret over to Aiming as well, and he needs money so desperately to actually accelerate this game because KT didn't find value with this Renekton pick so far at all. He's going to be very rapidly losing power, whereas Kana gets stronger and stronger and more relevant in these upcoming team fights. So the pendulum is already well in swing here.
Yeah.
And Nongshim are in a really nice spot, but Kai'Sa at least is able to pick up some gold here on the top side of the map. Notice the gold difference still, though. 1,400 for the early game Zeri, let's just say here. It's working out real well for Ghost, and this is the opposite of what you expect to see in a match like this, especially considering aiming and life have been the strong point for KT, and Ghost and Peter not so much on the side of Nongshim. But in this game, 2 kills early, all those turret plates, first turret blood going over to Nongshim, and they are sitting pretty as we head into the mid-game.
Yeah, let's have a look at this from Ghost's perspective one more time. He actually played it out very, very well, but did have to get bailed out in the end, as Rascal's Crocodile is very frightening.
And this is really important for Rascal to make this play, because otherwise they can defend the top play with the Rift Herald, and then Ghost gets both the bottom turret and they defend top turret. So forcing this teleport and forcing this reaction was actually massive for Rascal. Perfectly timed bailout here at the end. Last possible second from Peter. Will save his life.
Yeah, Peter being able to protect his teammates, beautiful stuff. Reminds me of when he debuted and played the Yuumi, just protecting everyone. And that's why we love you, Peter. Absolutely fantastic stuff. So, we almost have that Titanic Hydra completed here for Ghost, and the Zeri is just in a brilliant spot. KT do have tools to deal with it as this game goes on, right? That's why I think that these drafts make for a really interesting game as it develops, because both of these teams have very different win conditions for what they want to accomplish as this game goes on.
Yeah, now KT are really going to be forced into trying to hard engage onto this area at every turn. They kind of could poke and play a little more front to back, but now it's really difficult considering Ghost kind of had a freebie on his way to getting that second item. Is Kana?
Oh, Cuz was not waiting in that brush.
Yeah.
Strong, making sure that we were very confused.
Always on the edge of our seat.
Yep. The drama.
Yeah.
Definitely there. I love it.
Aiming is so far away from the spike that he needs to hit. Like, he's getting his Murmana stacked, obviously. Kind of a slower one for Kaisa compared to some other 80 carries. Then he's going to, of course, be able to build his second item, which will be the Nashers. And then he's going to finally get his Mythic, which will be his third item. And that's when he's going to spike super hard. But he is not on pace to where he'd like to be.
Yeah. Will still scale very well with this new build. But it's interesting seeing what he wants to build here. As Extendo Beam going to land onto life. As KT hovering towards that top side, you can see Nongshim just going to take themselves the first Infernal Drake here, and KT not able to actually set up for the vision around the area. And that means that that Drake will just go over to Nongshim without any sort of combat from KT. And it's really starting to look like this is Nongshim's game that they have control of. And as soon as they can play it the way they want to, it gets very scary for KT.
Yeah, and that turret that, got hit by the Rift Herald earlier on. Okay, Kana going to make the play.
Yep, he's just going to try and steal himself away a Grump, and does so.
The mid turret that's still up and healthy is just such a big boon for the Seri, who can just kind of catch the waves aiming sends his way, because he's already ahead on pace. He doesn't actually need to try to push his lead any further. They just fight on objective cooldown, basically. Okay, next Infernal Drake is going to be this soul point. We're going to look for that fight. Don't need to actually push for anything else. Don't need to try to pick. Can just play it slower. They have so much ability to just sit back and wait right now, and they don't have to use this Ahri as a pick, champion. Potentially just use it as a peel champion, as a defensive champion against the dive that's going to come through instead.
I mean, that's what they have the ability to do now. It's so much flexibility given how incredibly fed Ghost is at this point in time. 100% of the kills for his team. Of course, it's been a very low kill game, but it's only 2,000 gold the lead here for Nongshim, but they really have ticked off a lot of what they needed to do on their checklist moving towards this later stage of the game.
They've got the gold where they want it, and again, mid-turret is one of the most important parts for Zeri, but because she farmed up so early on and got the second item so early, she actually doesn't care as much about losing this, even though it's still important. But what they gained for the lost turret was actually inner turret gold for Kana, who now has his Mythic online. He has his Immortal Shield Bow. He's going to build a Bloodthirster. He's going to be very difficult to kill. And even with the changes to Hullbreaker, Kaisa's not going to have the ability to just kind of all in him. He's going to be able to fight back, buy a ton of time. This composition is extremely mobile.
Yep. He'll be just immovable in a side lane, right? I don't think that Rascal is going to be able to contend with him as the game goes on, right? No matter how good he is at the Renekton. And he's 0-1-0 right now, Didn't get off the ground like we were sort of expecting him to do alongside Cuz. He is going to be able to find Dread, though, walking into his jungle. As the Killer Instinct comes down, they get the flash out of Dread, but he gets camouflaged and runs away. Void Seeker picks it up, blind in the end. Oh, aiming. That is actually super important here to get this Kaisa online.
That's what you need. And with the evolved Void Spike, every time you hit a champion, you end up getting a reset on that, and then you just keep stacking those through. And if he's able to hit these consistently, as he's already proven a point here in the first one, then he's
not called aiming for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Like we made this joke last week, but at the end of the day, you know, you're going to trust. You're going to trust in this guy. And okay, well, Caster Kura spot.
Yeah, that had to happen. That's one of those things. Cuz going to lumber into this mid lane, but Ghost is feeling pretty comfy, especially when Life is throwing these hooks into the abyss.
Yeah, that was a really nice attempted play here from Life, and that's what we like to see from him. Cuz also had flash that could have followed on the play pretty easily, but Ghost positioning too good. Hook does not connect. And so we're about to like start to see some fireworks, right? This next Drake
I
fight,
hope so. This game has been really slow, Wolf.
It's gonna be pretty fiery on this next fight because neither of these teams could just walk away from this. I think as KT here, you want to fight. You don't have your Kai'Sa really online just yet, but I don't think you have a choice. You can't just sit back. You want to power.
You're gonna get your wish as Ghost is gonna have to slide over that wall. Cuz going for a bit of a hard engage. Life is gonna hit that one. Nice knock up there as well as Canna has to try and get out, but BDD throws through the Everfrost. Killer Instinct into the backline from aiming. Supercharges gets out of there as it's a good fear onto Dread, but he heartbreakers his way over the wall. Life is going to go down. BDD going to be the next target as Rascal is going to get so close to falling down and does so, unable to get on top of BDD, and they keep him at arm's length. These Void Seekers not landing, and KT have to back away.
Yeah, and Kai'Sa does not have, without that Mythic, really big staying power in team fights like this. He hit Ghost a few times, but you can see Ghost just didn't really care, so we're going to go all the way back.
This replay out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like, well, remember when this happened?
Yeah.
And then he ends up hitting the really nice shot. Bam. A little bit greedy of the recall placement there for Dread, we'll say, but Rascal engages here onto Ghost, but he's able to still buffer through and get over the wall, and at that moment, KT should have probably reconsidered going all in on this, because Kana does have those resistancies. He is very difficult to kill. He does have an Immortal Shield Bow, and then aiming ults through, and KT's comp, you can see here, it has a bit of an identity crisis. Is it a dive comp? Is it a poke comp, right? I mean, it's what you talked about in the draft, and if you don't get that initial kill, then it doesn't work out, and I think the second that Ghost got over the wall, they should have thought twice about it. Now they still are set up for this Drake fight.
Yeah, looking to try and get into the area. We do almost have the Mythic online for aiming, but not quite yet. He will likely build towards the Ludens once again. He mentioned that he liked that Faker decided to go for that one as BDD takes a couple of Void Seekers. And this is what happens as the game goes on. We will see this Kai'Sa turn into a Corki. That is just how it's going to go. And KT still holding onto this Drake, but once again, Nongshim set up for the fight. BDD dashes over the wall, gets the charm onto Rascal, and immediately they pop the Renekton. Drake is going to be secured. That is soul point for Nongshim. Void Seeker comes on in, but Dread doesn't really care too much about that one. Nongshim now to push out this mid lane and might just head towards Baron.
I mean, KT are in such dire straits right now. As you mentioned, the Mythic is coming online soon, but it's not ready yet. And it is, of course, going to be that Ludens you mentioned. With that, you add a lot of extra damage, a lot of extra poke with these Void Seekers. But right now, KT are just unable to set up these picks. A super early smite from Cuz, unfortunately, there. And
they're starting to get scary, these Void Seekers, as Nongshim do have this Baron down to 4,000, but Cuz is in the area. He can ult his way over, doesn't have the flash, but does have the ult. His life is going to get into the pit. There's the dive! The Zeri locks down the kill onto the Vex immediately, though, but the steal comes in. Cuz locks that one down. He is going to die, but he's done his job, but still, a triple kill goes to Ghost. This is a 6-0-1 Zeri. And even with the steal, I don't think it's quite worth it.
Yeah, now watching this fight too, how difficult it is for KT to actually hold on to the Drake aggro. You know, instantly Rascal is picked up here, and they have so much lockdown for this champion. As we go to this fight as well, yes, Cuz gets the steal, but the team fight is lost, and Life once again sends a hook to the Void. And
oh dear.
You know, yes, aiming does end up picking up a big amount of damage here with these Void Seekers, but at the end of the day, like, you can't win a fight in this pit. It was a great call from Nongshim, and yes, they deny the Baron, very technically speaking, but Nongshim are very happy to pick up a few more kills for Zeri, who has Blade of the Ruin King online, and this is where things get really nasty. Like, she will actually 1v1 Rascal in every scenario, no matter what now. Like, he can't even threaten her, and if he can't threaten her, and Life can't hit these hooks, and his ult is too difficult to pull up because he gets blown up by the Ahri who charms him while he's trying to get in range for it, then how do you ever win a team fight here as KT Rolster? It feels impossible at this stage. I think they're just too far behind compositionally at this stage. All the gold is where it needs to be for Nongshim.
Yep, Canna's going to dive forward, looking for aiming, but of course, collateral damage coming down. There's actually a fair bit of damage here as we can see. Void Seeker is not going to find its target. I think that a lot of this comes down to, you know, Vikla not finding these key shadow surges until he dives into the middle of that fight and just gets blown up instantly. You can see it's pretty anemic on the side of the Vex, and yes, even in farm and things like this, but you really do need to be able to, you know, get your job done in these team fights, and it just hasn't quite been there. Things haven't fallen in the right place here for KT.
Yeah, and the Renekton just irrelevant in this game now, sadly for Rascal, unless he can hit one great stun when also the Void Seeker connects while also the Shadow Surge connects. And
yeah, and also Bailout doesn't exist. And
yeah,
things like this.
So he can't side lane. You know, he's trying to take some jungle camps right now. Like he's past his prime. He's got a stopwatch, so at least he has the ability to, with his flash now coming back up, really try to hard dive on top of the Zeri. But this is not going to come without risk, as you can see he's just completely pushed out here.
Yeah, and remember, this is a KT that are battling for playoffs. They still haven't made it to playoffs yet, and yes, things are looking better, especially with some of the woes that Fred Brion are going through, but remember guys, if you guys are Fred Brion fans, which I assume everyone is, because they're just so incredibly likable, if you're a Fred Brion fan, you are now a Nongshim fan. Nongshim are giving the Bro Boys a way to potentially make it to playoffs if they can upset KT here.
Yeah, no. KT needed to do several things to have a chance to win this game. The first of which is going to be denying this Infernal Soul, which the fight will happen in about, 70 seconds or so here. Second thing they need to do after they take their first Infernal Drake is get to a point where this Void Staff comes online for aiming. He just got the Crystal, so he's still got a ways to go. A one-team fight here would give him the opportunity to pick that one up right away. Then suddenly he's doing a ton of damage. He's actually threatening Kana even with those Ws. So KT need these two things to go well here right now. If they lose this fight, Nongshim are just going to be an unstoppable force. They basically win the game with this one. So KT need to somehow force this to work out in their favor. Rascal has teleport available, so can join at a moment's notice. And you know what? Nongshim actually don't have to fight this. They can walk away.
Yeah. They have all of the control, like the tempo, all of the positional advantage that you do get from the Soul Point being there. One Infernal Drake is not going to be backbreaking, and that's why they're going for this siege on this mid lane. And if aiming's out of position, he can't land these Void Seekers. He does manage to get one onto Peter there, but still not quite doing enough damage. This inner turret's going to go down, and this is exactly what's been afforded to Nongshim with the control that they've picked up early.
Yeah, this is just really well played by Nongshim. I love that they identify that the one way that KT get back in this game is a one-team fight. So they're just not going to give it to them. They're not going to try to fight for Prio here. They're just going to sit in this brush where they have vision control. Like the angle here for Rascal, but look at the positioning of Ghost. He's so safe right now.
Yeah. Just surrounded by the rest of this team. These Void Seekers do need to land. As Rascal, we've seen you in this position before. Didn't work out last time, as now Vikla hiding in the brush. And Nongshim still respecting.
Nongshim are just like, you can't hold this Drake aggro. I will let you try.
Yeah. Kind of takes a bit of damage there, but KT are going to pull back the Drake. Can KT find the hard engage that they're looking for? Kana soaks another Void Seeker that is starting to hurt.
Yeah, he's just going to use the blue buff to heal up a little bit more.
Yeah. Comes back, 50% health. There's the flash from BDD, but avoids it. Does aiming. It is going to be Infernal Soul secured, but now the fight is on. They take down the Renata to start this one off. Life is also going to fall down as Rascal into the backline, but he's unable to lock this one up. It is going to be the kill onto BDD, but now Ghost is trying to chase them down. Can the Void Seeker connect? Everyone just bailing out of the way.
You win the fight once the first Void Seeker misses, because if you don't hit a champion, it doesn't get the cooldown reset, and that's when you know you're safe to get out of here. You're going to be totally fine as Nongshim, as he misses this one as well here. They can get out of dodge. They picked up the Infernal Soul. That was the objective, and I think that was the best team fight that KT was ever going to get. Frankly, the positioning was super good for Rascal. He gets on top of the back line. BD is caught. He's split between a Renekton and the rest of KT Rolster. He ends up getting picked off there, but still, Nongshim have it. Okay.
A bit of a drive-by there from the bear.
Sometimes you're holding your tab screen that you're spamming a little bit too long. You don't see it, maybe.
Yeah.
But look at how Rascal plays this team fight. It's really nice to see. He punishes the second that they go in, then he goes on top of the back line here. Look at the flash forward for the stun.
Vikla really hating the fact that aiming just almost killed him from one berserk.
That is also a problem. But the positioning here for Rascal and the stopwatch usage means they can cut Nongshim in half, pick off BDD, and walk out alive. You know, and Kaisa now has 4 kills, so this was massive for KT, but they didn't pick up the Drake. Like, if you don't get the Drake, does it matter? Not really at the end of the day here.
Do you know what they wanted to do? They wanted to get to an Elder Flip. and we may just have an Elder Flip on the cards. The crazy thing is you can see that there's bounties on these inner turrets, but it's only a 3,000 gold lead for Nongshim. Like,
yeah.
It's pretty insane. If KT can actually make it up and take down some of these structures, then we could see gold parity in this game, which feels pretty insane.
Yeah, it is crazy considering how one-sided the game has been. Even though it's fairly close in kills, fairly close in gold, like Nongshim have had ultimate control because of this area's Kana.
Cannon possibly caught out of position. There's the killer instinct, and yep, that is what you're afforded as he almost manages to take down Aiming. But Aiming will grab him in the end. So, nice little pick off there from KT. Can they get a Baron from it? Is the question, because Aiming will probably have to try and heal up somehow. As Extendo Beam comes through, doesn't find any targets.
Yeah, he is caught between the choice to recall here or to try to heal up elsewhere, but doesn't really have any. So he's just going to have to back here. Doesn't have a Doran's Blade or anything like that. It's AP build, doesn't have lifesteal, and he's going to back off, return. Although there's a ping on him, he stays. KT just really want to pull the wool over the eyes of Nongshim here, clear this vision out and start the Drake, but there's a few wards here. I don't think they'll get away with this. But they have a pretty decent Baron clear speed. It's not amazing as Kana, the dash actually pushes him into it. This is the power of the Void staff, by the way. Without that, you know, Kana might live long enough to actually trade for Aiming here, and that's disastrous. So, like, that's why you need that Void staff. That's why KT still have a few chances here.
I think when, if Aiming makes it to 6 items and we see the ludicrousness that is the poke Kai'Sa, like if there's a Rabbidan's death cap on top of Aiming, like he half healths anyone without defensive, like enough defensive stats.
Yeah.
With just a Void Seeker, right? And that is how KT can potentially turn this.
Also by just hiding in a brush and catching unsuspecting members.
Yeah, like Peter or Dread, as KT are being very patient right now. The Gromp is going to be secured, and they decide that they're just not going to go for it. Rascal picks up the Force of Nature, but it's only 3 items for the Renekton, who
now,
is looking like a handbag at this point in time.
Kana is so, I mean, he's so relevant, and he's putting a clock on this bottom lane. And, you know, it was pushed out pretty far, so there was a few seconds bought by those mini waves, but now he's crashing several into this turret. And this is really important because KT, if they lose control of the bottom side of this map, that is where the Elder Drake angle is for Nongshim. So really nice push here for Kana. Does have his teleport available. He's going to push out top side. He's putting threat on these inhibitors before this Elder comes up. And he's also going to, you know, force KT to respond here. Nongshim have so much power, so much control around this Baron with a Zeri that 6 kills, picked up a QSS. She is never going to die.
Yeah, well, these Void Seekers starting to land, Wolf.
Yeah, it's starting to be a bit troubling. That's the first miss, so once you miss, you have a little bit of a respite.
Yeah, bit of reprieve, and that's a needlessly large rod also completed for Aiming.
One step closer.
Yep, to the edge, and I'm about to break.
Yeah, I wish more people would get that reference, just us.
I'm sure they do, you know. I think there are plenty of Linkin Park fans.
Well,
still in Twitch chat. In
the end, it might not matter for Nongshim, the fact that they had such a massive lead. If KT win this one fight around Baron with some really nice Void Seekers. Tried so hard, got so far, but this game is way closer than it should be.
I like the effort put in, but this Baron's down to half health. Cuz is there once again to try and go for the steal. Void Seeker isn't going to land as he dives in. He's not going to pick it up. It's Renata that somehow secures the Baron, and the Volley Bear is now dead. Nongshim, they managed to grab the Baron. They should be able to transition into an Elder from this one as well, and this might be the straw that goes ahead and breaks this camel's
and with
back.
no jungle, you can't secure the Elder here. I think Nongshim, you know, the only way they lose this is if they overextend on this mid push, but they can do whatever they want for the next 20 seconds and rotate over. Cuz is coming 12 seconds later. If Nongshim are on that Drake when it spawns, they have ultimate control.
Yeah, they might even just grab themselves an inhibitor alongside it, and they will. Nongshim, all of that early game power that they picked up is being rewarded here. And with this Baron, man, like even these extendo beams starting to really hurt his life. Not able to get on in there. KT desperately trying to get towards this Elder because they need to fight for it, but they have no jungler. This is 100% desperation. But it's over if they give up Exodia to Nongshim.
They just have to fight for this. They need to be hitting these Void Seekers. That's not a champion. That's not going to reset that. Aiming needs another one to hit.
Aiming's helping them take down the Elder at this point in time, as now Rascal over to the side. Good Charm is going to connect the Berserk lands as well, as the Elder is going to be secured, and life also goes down. Cuz here just a little bit too late. As Rascal desperately trying to get himself out of the area. The flash goes in, aiming tries to lock down BDD, but the stopwatch is there, and Vikla goes down. Really beautifully played here by Nongshim. I don't know whether it was a bait from BDD, but it certainly worked out as one. As Nongshim now push up the mid lane and try to take game one here against KT. Remember, every single game matters. KT, a 2-0, was the ultimate goal for this series, but that is impossible now. Nongshim will be able to take down the Nexus here. Some redemption for these talented players that have had a really rough season.
And this is the kind of game you want to see from a well-oiled Nongshim Red Force. They came super clean, prepared for this Zeri draft. BDD having a much better time on the Ahri than he has as of late. You know, a player who has really been struggling post-COVID recovery. And the team played around the Zeri early game so extremely well. They pushed out Vision. This is the Nongshim Red Force we were waiting for now, albeit it comes a little bit late for playoffs. But, I mean, man, most people expected KT to take this series, maybe even with a 2-0. I mean, that was my prediction, but they strike hard in this first game. And I think that the weakness of this Kai'Sa pick into Zeri really glaring through. And yes, Peter helped them set up that first kill. Zeri got ahead early. They also had control of the wave because of that mid gank at level 1. But still, just picking Kai'Sa early and having a draft that has an identity crisis between aggressive dive, but also the poke she brings in the late game, really hit KT hard in the mid game after having that deficit. And yes, Kai'Sa became extremely fed later on, got 4 kills, got that Void Staff, was going for the death cap, but it doesn't matter when you have 2 wet noodle tanks in the front line who can't set anything up for you. You know, the Volibear and the Renekton falling off early just meant that Kai'Sa, no matter how fed she was, couldn't get the job done.
Yeah, it was a bit unfortunate. Let's have a look at some of these damage stats here, as Canna definitely doing a lot. Aiming as well. His best Corki impression was absolutely achieved at the end. But as you saw, it was Exodia picked up by Nongshim. Decent little steal there from Cuz on the first Baron, but Nongshim didn't allow that to happen the next time around. And I actually felt like their late game control that Nongshim exhibited here was akin to what we expected from this team, right? It was what we were starting to see in the first round robin. That kind of fell off a cliff after we had all of those COVID issues that racked Nongshim.
Yeah, and I feel like this is one of those hopeful moments if you're a Nongshim fan. You're like, suddenly a little bit more excited for summer season. Suddenly excited for what this team is capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see whether Nongshim can complete the 2-0. I had a feeling in my waters, Wolf. I had a feeling in my waters that something was going to happen and Nongshim was going to come out swinging. And they certainly did in game 1. We'll see whether they can in game number 2 after a short break and the analyst carpet space.
더 갈게. 더 가도 돼요. 하이탑 뿌리고. 자, 더 갈게, 이거. 더 갈게, 너 와봐.
풀이야.
와봐.
아, 홍대.
네, 봐줘. 네. 더 갈게. 가도 돼요.
가도 돼.
끝난데. 미드 가자. 슈퍼미니언 한 마리만 있어, 지금. 괜찮아. 볼베 신경 쓸게.
카이사, 나 카이사 볼 수 있어?
네.
카이사 볼래?
봐도 돼요. 나이스. 와. 이게 신체의 중요성인가? 나이스. 지게 해주자.
어우, 야.
Still a safeguard available is now Deft and Ghost fighting this one out. It's a lot of burst damage, but it is traded back immediately. The final hour is on, and that was so close. Flashes come through, the flash from Deft.
Yeah, gotta be so careful. I have no idea where he is.
Ruler baiting them as best he can as well. I really like it as Bertle trying to get into position. It's a great zap to come down as now Showmaker looking for his angle. Immediately, Ruler just executes Kellen. He's not doing anything. Finds the double kill now as they're turning it on to Damwon.
나 개잘했어.
Is that right?
Yep.
It's very important as we're going to have a team fight break out here. Onslaught of Shadows comes in. Henna is going to stopwatch it. Flashes immediately. They do manage to pick up the Jinx as the horse is traded, but you'll probably take that as Liv Sandbox. Maybe not if you lose your Nara as well, as the rest of Liv Sandbox are on the run. Lava is still alive, finds the charm, but it's onto Leona. He does go golden in the end, and Envy has to be the hero. Killer Instinct going to be used. He dives on top of the Ahri. That was definitely a bit hypey, but I liked it. Okay, we'll just go over to our minions, buff them up. What are you gonna do now? And Kwongo, they're behind them in the lane. They want to go in on this one, but Zeus has a really nice position, and into the back line they go. Huge knock-up. Keria gets the engage onto the Aphelios. As Dudu will block a lot of the poke though. Peanut in the pit, they're looking to turn onto the Elder. We're going for the flip, but the hook goes onto the Scion, and the Elder is taken by Shenzi. They get it, and they should be able to take this fight. Onfleet goes down. Zombie gets hit by the Shadow Surge, and that is all she wrote. As after you get hit by that, you are not getting away from Chovy.
Hello and welcome back to the Analyst Carpet Space. It's me, Valdez, with Chronicler. We did a nice little pre-show earlier, and finally we are back here. Interesting game number one. Nongshim able to get the win over KT, and it all starts with the draft.
It did all start with the draft, didn't it? Because you can flex Kai'Sa, and picking up the Vex early is going to take away that possibility. I think the Graves lock-in was also very obvious when the Trinity ban came through. And the R5 Renekton, truly a staple, and not one for good reasons, as in this match it also didn't do a whole lot. If your goal is to get something that can actually lock down Zeri, which you have Volibear and you have Nautilus, so that should be possible, I honestly prefer something that can more reliably get backline access, anything from obviously a Malphite, which that would be an easy one, although in that case Zeri can to a certain extent get away, but Ornn, Cyan, Maokai even, I do think that those picks will provide you a lot more value, or build something that actually dives, because KT's comp was kind of disjointed and it didn't really, I actually liked it more because I thought they were going to win topside, and then they didn't, and Nongshim had a comp that was kind of jank, but Zeri got fed, so who cares?
It's very true, and speaking of items as well, you wanted to touch a little bit on Rascal's items that he did decide to go for. Started with the Gore Drinker, and that started Mal's Malding.
Yes, well, hey, I was mildly annoyed, because especially if you think about what the goal is for this Renekton, you're playing into 4 characters that are going to try and kite away. Why do you not go Stridebreaker? You're not playing into multiple melee characters where you guarantee to get a big Gore Drinker value. A Stridebreaker would really help you kind of lock down the Ahri, the Zeri, and at least give you some sort of fighting chance, especially considering you didn't snowball. Similarly, I think that on Renekton especially, Sterix is actually still a good item due to how it interacts with his ultimate. And Black Cleaver to augment the physical damage of who again? Because he had,
Kai'Sa.
yes, and obviously I do think that in the amount of armor that was built in the enemy team, the Black Cleaver makes a little bit more sense, but specifically that Gold Drinker just provided no value at all, and I don't know if the switch to Stridebreaker would probably have not helped with how that game played out, but it would have augmented at least his pressure in terms of backside threat.
Yeah, I mean, even the Killy tried to get onto the Zeri that one time when Ghost was able to kite away from him. We were talking about how many times Stridebreaker would have gotten value there. But either way, this stuff happens. We do have some replays that we are going to take a look at here and kind of break down, starting with this one.
So what's really key here is Cuz is hovering here to make sure that Aiming and Life can get the crash, because they want to back. Kai'Sa early wants to pick up a tier so she can freely scale into the lane. And the reason why this is so important is because Peter and Ghost actually do a really good job of making sure that the lane isn't shoved in. So what happens then is Aiming and Life, right here you have 2 choices, greed and try to get the crash, or get frozen on and lose a ton of minions and have a really bad back. And they try to greed, Dread punishes, but if either Cuz just walks up in the lane and helps them shove, or they communicate better and make sure that they say, hey, we can't push this out, we need your help, then they would have been fine. Get the crash, you get the back, but instead you get the early kill for Ghost, and I do think that this is the kill that kind of sets into motion a lot of the issues that arise later in the game.
Yeah, I mean, Ghost from there on, he had a much easier lane, he was able to pick up a kill, and eventually, it was the beginning of the snowball. It's got to start somewhere, and you can see, I mean, Aiming Life, they were like, what are we gonna do? They weren't necessarily looking for an engage, they were just like, I wish we could get this crash, and as you mentioned, they tried to push it in, but with no vision and no jungler, you are going to get punished. So, we do have highlight number 2, which is a little bit later on here at the Baron.
And here you see the benefits that have been reaped by Nongshim, because they have been so far ahead in tempo, they have full control. Did they go for multiple flips? Yes. And I mean, this flip also, crucially, not going to work out, but it didn't matter, right? And this is really a highlight that we show to kind of showcase how dire of a situation this was. Truly, for KT, the fact that they got this and still were not able to get anything done, right? The Berserk not getting the biggest value with Dread down. This is an easy smite pickup, but it's just more kills for the Zeri. And there is a point where if you're even in this game, the lockdown that they have should be enough to deal with Zeri. But if she gets this far ahead, the few seconds you buy or make her basically unkillable.
Yeah, it's very true. The one thing that really stood out to me in that fight was the really nice charm from BDD onto Vikla. He was in the middle of 3 people and could have, if he got his combo off, had a huge burst damage, get the Kai'Sa over the wall, maybe that could have flipped it, but one charm puts an end to that, and that is one thing that the Ahri can do if you can react fast enough.
And even though I didn't love the comp, I do think this is somewhat of a return to play. Kana looks incredible on his Graves, absorbing a lot of pressure. BDD, so much more secure. I thought he was going to get tilted by the level 1 play,
Yeah.
while there were 2 people in this lane, but didn't actually end up happening. And this is better late than never in terms of show-ups for Nongshim.
Yeah, I mean, they win game 1 here. We'll see where they go from here. Let's see who does pick up player of the game as well for game number 1. From Nongshim, it will be Ghost, who got a lot of kills.
I was personally in doubt between BDD and Kana. I think both of them had a very stable game, but Ghost definitely the flashiest of the players, able to pick up a lot of early kills and then kind of run the Zeri to its natural course. Man, imagine the Strybreaker value you could have gotten here. Oh, surely would have been great. That's the gold ranker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna beat that horse. But the important thing for Ghost is, and this is something that he has struggled with in the past, is making sure that he actually never dies, which that was a fake death. That one doesn't count.
Yeah.
Especially with a lead this big. And he's able to do so. The rest of the team frontlining well for him, buying him the space that he needed to really take over the game.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't feel like Ghost had very many flashy plays. I think he just got really fed, and he was relatively consistent with that. You know, his team was ahead, and he was able to play out those fights pretty well. You can see a couple of votes for mid there from, actually 3 votes overall. Only 1 for Kana, so unfortunately.
I was a bit
Chronicler gets a little bit
conflicted.
mean today, but that is okay, as we had 3 votes for BDD as well. I think personally I probably would have gone for BDD, but it is what it is. Ghost will pick it up here for game number 1, and we'll have to see what happens in game number 2. Will Nongshim close it out here, or will KT fight back? Let's go back to the casters.
Thank you very much, Shens. We are more Shens here on the caster desk. You can't see us, however, we are shenning away over here on the desk. Ghost picking up the player of the game. I like that for multiple reasons, but even though he was just a Zeri that got fed and did a lot of last hitting and stuff like that, it's not often that you see Ghost pop off in these positions. And sometimes, you know, he gets his Callista and then like gets the Ren sets and things are really, really cool, but that's not often the playstyle that you see from him. So I think celebrating a bit of Ghost doing some carrying is definitely cool.
Yeah, for me, I was kind of split between BDD and Ghost. I went with Ghost in the end because I thought that the game was defined by his existence, whether or not he looked flashy while doing it or not. I mean, he had the cool play where he survived against the Renekton. I also do agree with what Chronicler was saying about the Stridebreaker. You know, we don't talk about items on the cast all too often because we can't change the reality of the items that are locked in, but I do think that that was something that we could have seen. It was just a game that went so wrong for KT so quickly, and, you know, if you're even or ahead, like was mentioned by us, by Chronicler, you know, it's a game that feels a lot more comfortable when you give that much of a lead to Ghost. Like, he was the elephant in the room, skating around and zapping people through walls, and he got POG because the game was defined by him, that early kill that was given to him in the laning phases. KT will choose blue side here in the second game. You see the power of having home advantage actually pretty massive in a series like this. That's just so important for KT. And then we'll finally have the blue side start, and maybe Vikla will be able to get the Ahri early, and we'll see a different draft here.
Yeah, I was actually backstage, and I saw Arya walking around, but not going to be subbed in for this game. They are still going to stick with Vikla in that mid lane. Has been an upgrade. I know there's a lot of Arya fans out there, but he was really struggling, especially moving towards round 2. And Vikla has breathed some new life.
They won't let him have it. He's going to get it, that one target bound right away.
Yeah, also Hecarim banned on blue side. Something very interesting, as Cuz has, you know, had some decent games on the Hecarim as well.
The Hecarim blue side ban usually means you're fishing for the Jinx first pick.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a good choice here for aiming, considering the Kai'Sa, despite him looking to be one of the innovators on it, hasn't worked out for him specifically in these critical matches. The T1 matchup in particular comes to mind the second time, falling behind early. And I think that Nongshim will probably just remove the Jinx. They won't allow him to play it. They target banned his Jinx and Aphelios last time, and I don't see any reason that has to change here. as they've already taken the Ahri away, that other first pick priority for blue side. And I think the Aphelios is kind of negotiable. Like, you don't necessarily need to ban that one, but I think the Jinx is definitely an easy call here for Nongshim. Ban the Zeri away first as well.
Yeah, I don't mind that. We saw the Zeri be very useful for Nongshim, but they're not going to let KT pick it in a similar position to where Nongshim picked it last time. One more ban remains. Jace still available, Caitlyn still available.
Yeah.
Jinx and Aphelios as well, as far as our first round of bans.
Twisted Fate as well, something to consider here. And then we'll ban that one away. This gets tricky here. I mean,
certainly a lot is up, especially in the AD
yeah.
carry position.
I think if you leave Jinx here, though, you're going to regret it as Nongshim. And yes, they could ban Caitlyn right away, but it's not a meta where you feel like Caitlyn dominates as much as she used to, nor are you playing Zeri into it to struggle with it. So, can be a problem for Aphelios lanes if that's what Nongshim wanted to play, but I think the Jinx ban is the safest. Now, they're going to trade it up. Like, there's a lot open here. They still go ahead and take away Vicla's LeBlanc.
Yeah. Feels like a little bit of a throwaway, and Nongshim just trying to get as much in their first round of picks as possible, and I kind of respect it.
So, if the Jinx comes through, is it going to be a Caitlyn Karma, Ezreal Karma to try to control that lane? As Nongshim here, that's the questions that, you know, we're not going to find the answers to until these lock-ins come through.
I think
the Kali priority here is very high.
Wow. Okay, so the first pick of Kali is going to come in. Of course, something that Rascal has found a lot of success on, but can flex into that mid lane as well. KT taking a very different approach this time around.
Yeah, he looks a little bit surprised by this as well. Right away in this draft, and they'll take the Aphelios over the Jinx here for Ghost. This draft is really getting quite unique in the priority that we're seeing. So different from usual, as the Viego will also be taken away here.
Yeah, priority on the Viego. KT can go towards the Lee Sin, something uniquely flexible for this team, because Rascal does like to play at top lane quite a lot.
Yeah, it feels really good to pick up the Lee Sin potentially at this stage too. You have the Akali on your team, kick away the Viego, and a lot of team fights and exchanges. The Jinx was going to be, I think, the pickup for aiming here, but with the Aphelios on the other side, it's like such an easy choice. Like, there's no debate on the KT comms right now about what they're going to put aiming on. So he does lock that one in. Range advantages that we talk about all the time are going to be very relevant here, especially with a, somewhat struggling to engage Viego.
Yep. I would have really liked the Lee Sin here, just with how flexible it makes KT's draft moving further on, but they will lock away the bottom lane. Just make sure that aiming and life are going to have the best time. As now, Nongshim, I think there's basically no reason not to just go for the Graves.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even necessarily have to ban the Tryndamere here, because you feel pretty good about the fact that this is probably going to be Rascal playing this Akali on the top side. You can ban the Lee Sin now, and I think they definitely will. Might even see a follow-up ban on something like a Xin Zhao. Is, realistically, KT might do something crazy, as they will ban the Tryndamere. Like, they might actually put Cuz back on the Volibear and try to get an early lead, but with the Graves that you're running into here on the top side, it's very difficult to get massively ahead against. We saw them fail to do it last game. I think we will see a pivot, which is why I think the Xin Zhao is the most likely next step if Nongshim ban that Lee Sin away, but we'll have to wait and see. But this draft has been pretty surprising so far.
The Azir taken away from BDD. I like it. Just get rid of one of his most comfortable pickups.
Might just see the Syndra to follow, and could also see something like a Victor. Another champion BDD is very comfortable on, scales very well with the Aphelios Graves. They've already locked in.
Yep.
This feels like a obviously Sin ban, rather, and they will take it away.
Yep, we were talking about it, and certainly adds a lot of flexibility like we were considering. So I do like the ban a lot. Yeah. One more for KT, take off the board. We'll see whether they do ban that Syndra like you were talking about, just aiming at BDD.
Viego Syndra is so scary in lane, regardless of what Vicla is going to be playing. And he doesn't have his LeBlanc. The Ahri is banned away. They decide to take away Peter's Alistar instead in the laning phase here. It's been a consistency in this best of 3, targeting that one away. Nongshim have a lot of options now, and I think the Syndra, considering how much follow-up they have damage-wise with the Graves, with the Aphelios, even blind, it doesn't feel like a bad pick, even into the Akali, if that's what was going to be the swap here for KT. Feeling okay about it, but they just want to wait.
I kind of like the Tahm Kench.
Kench it up, yeah.
Already an assassin there, and Peter's going to have a big giggle. Pretty happy about that one. And I like it with the Akali being shown face up, giving that extra protection over to Ghost is definitely a good idea. As now KT to round out their composition here. We want to see where that Akali's going and see what Cuz is going to be playing.
Yeah, it's really tough for Vikla in this moment. You know, you're probably going to have to play another control mage. It's going to be the Victor, and it's just going to be a slow scaling game between both of these two teams. You don't have side laning power with KT, so there's a little bit of pressure on you into Kana's Graves here once again. Hullbreaker nerfs be damned. He pulled it off in game 1 very well. I respect the Chronicler's vote for him. He's arguably the best Graves player we have right now in the LCK, and Xin Zhao to round out the draft. Going to be a lot about this Leona Xin Zhao engage. I think it will be a really big deciding factor in this game. To get Jinx excited, get those health bars low enough for Akali to come in and clean everybody up.
Oh, I kind of really like this. Adds a lot of team fighting power to Nongshim.
Especially because KT come to you. You have a lot of ability to control space with the ultimate. You're going to have a lot more consistent big moments than you will with a Syndra, right? The ultimate is much more free form here for BDD than the Scatter the Weak. And laning into a Victor, you don't really have kill pressure as the Syndra. You're not going to be putting any threat onto him. So it's going to be, this game is going to be very, very slow and like arguably could be very boring through the early to mid game. It's going to be all about aiming versus Ghost. Later on, Vikla's scaling versus Orianna's strong engage, the counter engage she's going to bring when this Leona's crashing through with the Xin Zhao trying to split the team in half. Yeah, this is going to be a very different game than our last one, and I'm here for it. I'm really excited to see this. Once again, Rascal gets an opportunity to try to get some big solo kills, make some plays into Kana's Graves.
Yeah, and
I'm hyped.
This is Rascal's Akali as well. He's very, very good at this champion. It feels like we are a bit of a broken record when we're talking about Rascal, but this one also feels like it fits a little bit better than the Renekton did in the last game. Always very difficult to talk about Rascal's Renekton because sometimes he just finds wins. Last game, he definitely didn't. So this is going to be a much better situation. One thing that KT Rolster definitely have going for them is the ability to shut down an Aphelios. They have Chaos Storms and a Jinx that can certainly stop the Aphelios from being able to get in range. But the defensive options you provide with Tahm Kench and things like this are going to be very, very strong. And I think BDD on the Orianna, augmenting Ghost's ability to do damage is going to be great, as well as the fact that you can shield up and speed up the Viego, trying to get those stuns to start off these fights as well. So I do like what Nongshim have. Not a lot of engage options unless Peter's going to be playing real aggressive with his abyssal dives, and if he's going to do that, I'm all here for it. Absolutely love to see some aggressive Tahm Kench play.
Watching some carrier footage in his spare time, no doubt.
Yep, I hope so.
This is such an interesting one too, because it's Vikla on the Victor, which he's played a lot of, you know, throughout his lead up to the LCK and his debut this year. But it's also not a champion that it screams skill expression, which is kind of how Vikla's played it out in the LCK. His Ahri, the big standout, his LeBlanc, right? This one's a little bit of a sit and scale, do some damage later on, and kind of chip away. And I do think it's kind of a different look for him in terms of the LCK. It's a different look for KT Rolster. We usually see this team looking to engage early, looking to speed up the tempo, and trying to really win the game before 20 minutes. This game, totally the opposite, right, with this composition that they've put together here. And allows Rascal to still carry on the Akali and pop off on one of his best champions. So it still feels KT Rolstery, but in a very different way. And this is the kind of thing that you're going to need in best of fives and playoffs if KT make it there. There's a little bit more depth to the draft, and I do like what we've seen here. Really just throwing some curveballs along the way.
Yep. BDD and Vikla with identical, you know, cookies and Scorch keystones. We'll let you guys interpret what you feel about that. As this is going to be a battle for early game control. Of course, Orianna has a fair bit of early shove. But Victor as well can get some stuff done. So looking forward to seeing how the mid lane is going to go as far as priority, because I think it is going to be very important. We've got the Viego running around. I think that early priority is going to be big from both of these teams. But both of them also probably pretty happy to scale. So like you were saying, there is a danger that we have possibly some lull states in this game.
I think we definitely will. It's like the most exciting thing to watch right now is just the laning between these two. Is
Yeah.
ㅅ doing a great job so far, you know, using that scorch damage, harassing BDD. As you can see, this is a fairly close matchup here.
Yep, 16-24 still pretty good for the Orianna, as we can see. But we've just, like, I mean, it's Control Mage versus Control Mage, right? You're just going to add a little bit more augmentation to the rest of your team as the Orianna. And so in the 2v2, I kind of like being able to empower ㅅ to really get more done. Because Dread didn't have a great game last time around. He was kind of a passenger. And it was largely about, you know, getting the Zeri ahead and things like this, as that dissonance is going to be able to even out the trade here, and even manages to get the cannon. Love it. Absolutely fantastic stuff.
It's crazy how Ahri, just a small rework has made her so popular, and how she has really defined a lot of these games. As Vikla's just continuing to trade so well.
Yeah.
Because now that Ahri's not in this game, like, it's going to play out a lot slower. Both teams are a little bit more free to, like, clear vision. They're not as worried about walking towards an objective. And as a Kali here, you know, you don't have to worry about charms as you go in and things like that. So I feel like once Ahri is not in the game, I'm like, oh, we can all kind of breathe for a second. Like, we can all just walk towards a team fight setup, and it's going to go the way you expect. There's no craziness. Especially with two control mages like this, it is going to feel very front to backy.
Yep. Front to backy.
Front to backy, less wacky.
Yeah. Well, Nongshim are going to be able to find the KT members here on the bottom side. No funny business allowed here, KT. As Peter's going to come on over, and we're just going to check out how that's going down there, I say, as soon as we pan up towards this top side, and then into the mid lane. As we do just want to watch Orianna versus Victor throughout the majority of this. The observers did their due diligence in going down towards the bottom lane and checking on the top lane. But now that Vikla's teleporting back in, I really hope that we just park. Here we are. This is the real matchup right here.
Yeah, it's also the Tom Kent, so, like, you know absolutely nothing is going to happen at the bottom. Like, there's just, like, not even a chance. Like, it's not going to happen. It's like, maybe Peter will mess up. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely just going to be very slow as he wins the race here.
Oh, possibly a bit of an engage as Dread down towards this bottom side. Flash out from Life as the stun is going to miss there from Dread. Peter, though, he's going to have to flash to get himself out of the way, but Ghost with his Gravitum doing some work here. The flash forward and the knock-up to answer there as Dread is not going to be able to get out. Aiming gets excited, and the Abyssal Dive is going to get Peter out of there, but Ghost gets a follow-up kill and even is able to stun up Life and Aiming.
Yeah.
Very nicely done.
The Gravitum there helps him get a kill, or get out, rather, after picking up that kill. Well played here from Ghost, and so, you know, it ends up being a trade of kills here, and for KT Rolster, you know, you feel pretty good about the start of this, but then Ghost trades one back, right? And so that's going to be a little bit less gold going over the Aphelios, but the net is the same because both AD carries are going to be out of lane for about the same amount of time, so this isn't going to lead to much.
Yep,
but
First
it's
blood gold going over to Ghost, I guess, is kind of it.
I feel like going deeper into this, it was pretty hilarious how I was like, there's no way anything will happen at all, not a chance. And then Peter actually does step forward and sets up for the potential engage, as Dread's just not able to link it together there in the end, and then
it was
killed.
The flash, pretty unfortunate not being able to find that stun, but Ghost getting the fadeaway kill. Certainly great news here for Nongshim.
Really well played from Ghost, as you mentioned, and in terms of the summoners down, Jungle's also trading those, so as exciting as it was to see 2 kills very early, what it means is much less exciting, at least for the time being.
Yeah.
And, you know, Rift Herald's coming up in 2 minutes, and that is, hold that thought, Rascal.
Yeah, Rascal's looking for another solo kill as he does dash on forward. There's the Ignite down onto Canna. Perfect execution available, and that is going to net the kill. Damage comes through as the flash was coming out, and that is a feels bad for Canna.
Yeah, that is real rough. Great play here from Rascal, hitting the flip, going in on the kill, and this is when things can turn. As you look at the CS difference between these two in the early parts of the Akali into Graves, you're having a really rough time. The waves pushed into your turret, as you saw, but he's able to finally take that opportunity. Hits level 6.
Yeah, and that is going to be 26 on the solo kills. He needs 2 more to eclipse second place, which is Canna. There's now Ghost with red and white guns. Pretty scary. Not exactly a large amount of range as Dread's going to move down, help them secure vision. Cuz is here as well for a potential counter.
Yeah, control ward feeling pretty good. Another one up here. A lot of good vision control here for Nongshim in this early game. And they really want to push this ㅅ to a nice advantage, but hasn't been able to get anything just yet, unfortunately, after that failed W to connect earlier. And A trade of kills is all. Is 50 seconds until this Rift Herald comes up. Orianna going to be much stronger than the Victor at that team fight, but also going to have a better trade here. Low mana bars, of course. Cookie's going to come through, and VDD does not have his ultimate. Needs to be careful.
Not right now, as we're going to check out the solo kill here from Rascal, something that he's pretty good at, guys.
Kana pushing over to the right side here, just trying to get out, but not going to happen. Rascal plays it out very well.
And the information that we get at the end there is Rascal saying that he doesn't have flash. Okay, this was a little bit dangerous for Rascal. It does have the ultimate available, backflips his way out.
And will
trying to
reveal
survive.
Yeah, revealing him on the way out. And Nongshim are...
This is a lot of plates.
Yeah, they not only are getting these plates for free, but actually have enough control over the Rift Herald to where that Ghost and Peter can back off here, and they might actually get these plates and then take the Rift Herald, because Rascal got so low.
Moonlight Vigil, aiming taking a fair bit of damage, but Ghost mainly sending a message.
Yeah, just wants to lock him down here in the lane so they can't go up to the top and contest the Rift Herald, which is now being taken by Dread. So it's a really nice usage of the ultimate, pinning them down here a little bit more. And just a trade like that also makes you feel really uncomfortable as aiming in this situation.
Yeah, it's going to be a trade of objectives here. The first Drake of the game going down at 8 minutes 30. Cuz is on that one. And KT do have control of the river with, as you can see, a lot of control vision down there. So it's going to be an agreed upon trade of objectives, which is kind of what we were expecting. Goes towards the lull state vibes.
Yeah,
that Wolf brought up earlier.
It's kind of a race to items here for these AD carries and for the mid laners, especially the Victor is going to be the one who wants to get that up as soon as possible. But because this Rift Herald goes over to the side of Nongshim, you know, they're winning the race in that regard. They will be able to get the gold more than this Drake. And we don't know what it's going to be yet, because it could actually be extremely impactful, you know, the Hex Tech. It's not, you know, going to be the Mountain.
It'll be a Cloud.
Yeah.
You best believe as Peter is trying to dive his way out, but it's not going to work. He eats some gray health, but it's not going to be enough to keep him alive. Good little pick off there, and another kill goes to Aiming.
Yeah, Aiming now definitely taking a bit of a lead down in that race to AD carry items. And, you know, with the pick here that you pick up now, Cuz also has the opportunity to, you know, continue to control some more of this bottom side of the map, put some more vision down, play around the fact that they had this set up for the early Drake take. Which again could be very significant, right? If it's Cloud, then you know I am casting with you. So if it is Cloud as we expect,
it'll be great if it's Cloud. I don't know what you're talking about. Everyone's so mean to McCloud Drake.
I mean, it's better than it used to be. Let's be real.
Yeah,
but
see, there we go.
Yeah,
running fast is cool.
It's important. And everybody runs. So
yeah,
even if you have a bad ultimate, it's not.
It's good for everyone because everyone wants to walk. It's beautiful. It's an all-inclusive Drake, as we're gonna. Oh,
he's just making soup.
All he wants to do is drink his soup, guys. It's like Chronicler. Oh no.
Yeah.
Can he get some more of that soup, Wolf? No, he can't.
Not for a while. As Rascal is really, despite getting that solo kill, taking a lot of heat up here on the top side of the map with the Hull Breaker online for Kana. Even with significantly reduced resistances, he's just going to sit in a lane and shoot at an Akali and not worry about any 5-point strikes or any sort of harassment that comes his way. And this is not going to be a happy time for Rascal when he's in a side lane. Now, in team fights, he'll have a lot of agency, he'll have a lot of power, but Kana is always going to have the advantage in this regard.
Yep.
And still no Rift Herald drop just yet here for for Dread. And with the push to the bottom side there, it's kind of awkward. You know, you definitely would like to get further ahead here on the top side of the map, but do you really need it? Like, as Kana, you're like, no, I don't think you need to put that up here. I'm actually doing just fine.
Yeah, like, Kana's like, I got solo killed, but I don't care. I'm 30 CS up. Like,
yeah. Kana's great, man. It's the thing.
Yeah, he's just having a great time. He's like, he just shrugs it off. He's now got his, okay, so Mega Death Rocket will stop BDD's back. Like that one a lot. He's now going to have to stay here.
Yeah, he cannot just go back and teleport in. He'll lose minions, so he has to stick around. Wow, pretty significant.
Indeed, Dread finds himself a very high-value Q there, poking into the brush, and Cuz is going to back away, goes over vision, and a lot of care being taken here of this bottom side of the map. Good death ray as Kana Yeah, he's equalized that solo kill quite comfortably here by taking 4 plates already.
Yeah, like he was never going to get the Rift Herald drop.
Yeah.
Like, I am the Rift Herald.
Yeah. He bought the Rift Herald. Boris gave him the Rift Herald. It's that spiky hammer that you can see keeping his minions healthy as aiming, throwing out some rockets. Cuz moves over, but he's on vision once again. It really does look like KT want to play through this bottom lane, but Dread in position every single time for the counter is helping out here as he puts down the Rift Herald. They clear out some vision, and I don't know whether this one's going to get all that much value.
Yeah, not looking likely. Well, we'll see.
See whether they can actually get it towards his turret, as it's going to get some work done on these minions first, and Dread's trying his very best to avoid Shelly getting her eye poked. It's not going to work. Zenith Blade comes in. It's not exactly the greatest of solar flares, but Ghost now trying to back away from this one. Vikla comes down towards the bottom lane of BDD. Gets on in here as well. No shockwaves just yet, and no one is going to die, but the Rift Herald gets no value.
Living up to his name, perhaps?
Yeah, Super Mega Death Rocket flies into the abyss. And isn't going to be able to pick anyone up. Thanks, Jonas Strong, for keeping us in the dark there.
Yeah, well, it was a really exciting moment for just a second, but they deny the Rift Herald drop. And this is starting to become a big problem here for Nongshim, as unfortunately Ghost is just falling behind in gold, falling behind in a little bit of experience. You can see he's sitting about 700 behind at the moment. Now, this is somewhat of an issue up here, but KT are happy to play to their scaling win conditions and just let the Graves soak up this lane, because the 3 of their champions are going to do a hell of a lot of damage in the late game, and maybe Rascal will do it a little bit slower, but they have 3 awesome carries that can front to back here, so, you know, Graves not a huge issue at the moment, so they're just going to let Kana do this, and Rascal's just going to keep laning. He got some extra gold because he got the solo kill. Teleport's available for Kana as we head into this Drake fight.
Yeah, Ocean Drake going to be up now. See exactly which soul it is going to be. I say pretending that I don't know that it's obviously going to be a Cloud Soul. And it's going to be an Infernal. So you say enough against getting a good Drake, and then you get a good Drake.
There you go.
That's how it works.
Just have to use that reverse psychology the Rift wants. Gotcha. But this is kind of unfortunate for Nongshim. You know, they had teleport, and they're going to take a turret here.
Yeah, nicely done from Kana. Going to be able to exert his pressure. That is going to give Nongshim a slight advantage here, and this is what they want to play for, right?
Yeah, Rascal is so slippery here that they're not going to be able to lock him down, unfortunately. They can steal some of the jungle away. But because it's Infernal, right, they were also kind of banking, I think, Nongshim were on that being a Cloud. This is suddenly really significant, the 2 Drake lead that KT have in their hands right now, and it's going to be more significant than the temporary gold that Kana's picking up right now. You can see the plates he's picked up. They're going to try to get this Rift Herald too, which will lead to, again, further gold on this Graves. But again, the fact of the matter is the damage that BDD is going to do later on is less than what Vikla is going to do, and aiming is at a faster rate of acceleration towards the second item than Ghost is. So now you're in a position where you gave up 2 Drakes. The third one, which is really important and just the whole point, you're going to be behind in, and if you don't win that one, things get really nasty on the Infernal Soul fight that KT are looking to take, because they're going to be ahead and their composition is going to be stronger, arguably. And so you're going to have to use your side laning and things like that to try to push that setup to be in your favor. But it's still a you know, arms race here in terms of how slow this game is. But KT are kind of ahead right now.
No, they're definitely pretty happy with the position of their Jinx. And playing around aiming is something that KT are very, very used to. And Nongshim pretty happy to play around Kana as well, who now does have his shield bow completed. We've got a lot of weapons now put together. Got his free boots as well, feeling good about that. But this is definitely a game where both of these teams and their identities are going to be put to the test, right? Playing through Kana versus playing through aiming. And,
so true.
Kana's been solo killed so far, but did manage to get a whole bunch of plates, as well as the 30 CS lead that he's picked up as well. And now that he has the Hull Breaker and his shield bow, should be pretty happy in the 1v1 as well, as we check in on that here towards the bottom side, with Dread turning up as well. Ghost now possibly in trouble. Gale Force, that got a lot of value, didn't it?
Yeah, pretty big with everything that's just being the kitchen sink thrown at him there, and he's just like, nah.
Vic was like, is anyone going to come and stop me from taking this?
Yeah, it's like, okay, I guess I'll just take that. Thank you very much. All the hard work Kana put in for the first 15 minutes of the game, I'll just take an equivalent amount for free on the top side of the map here. And now, I mean, this, again, so good for the Victor. Because, yeah, they just want to try and push this through. Not anything they can do. I want to keep the attention mid so they can get an extra charge here. Yep. And the value of the Graves in a side lane is something that is going to be frustrating for KT for the rest of this game regardless. but it's not something that at this moment in time is a huge threat to them just yet. But every single charge counts. Every inner turret buys further time so that Kana's not hitting an inhibitor turret and then later on an inhibitor. But my problem with how Nongshim have played this and how all in they've gone on Kana is they gave up so much map control. They allowed Vikla to get a free turret. So what Vikla can do in terms of damage in a long fight is so much more powerful if the shockwave isn't big. So like all these things are stacking up, putting so much pressure on BDD, putting pressure on Nongshim to actually be able to macro properly so they can get Drake Prio using this Graves advantage they have. It's just so much harder for their win conditions, I think, later on, the way this has gone. And KT are just kind of coasting right now going, well, it's going to be way better for me, and I also have all the cards in my hand with the 2 Drake advantage they have.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's starting to get a little bit dicey. But still, I mean, there is, like, the way I'm looking at it is I see the Jinx, and I'm like, how are Nongshim going to get on her and kill her without having a lot of control of the map, right? And it's getting more and more difficult for that to happen as KT take more and more control. And we have to remind you guys of the stakes, right? Nongshim, they are definitely not getting into playoffs. However, KT, they have a chance, and a win here is almost imperative for them getting in over ㅣ2022, right? And if you're a ㅣ2022 fan, which I assume everyone is, you're a Nongshim fan today.
Yeah, and if KT lose this, they have to hope for Kwangdong to lose, because ㅅ2022 already have 7 wins, so they're going to be, you know, ahead in that regard.
Yep.
As
I want to see a Shockwave Abyssal dive, by the way. That's what I want to see. I want to see Peter with the ball delivery. That'd be real exciting.
That's very technical. It's like if we had jetpack delivery people here instead of scooters.
No, I'm a big fan. As BDD is going to walk into Cuz. There's the flash forward. BDD taking a lot of damage. Oh no! The stun! So Peter can't get the Devour off, and that will secure his fate as well. KT pick up 2 quick ones. Beautiful play from Life.
So not only do they get soul point from this, but they're also going to pick up some extra gold. And this is massive. Great play from Life there with the follow-up Zenith Blade. And Nongshim losing control of this game so fast.
Yeah, that is going to be Ghost. He does have to sever him so he can heal himself back up, but this Chaos Storm Dread has to get the heck out of here. Good collateral damage, tidies up the minions, does a fair bit of damage here as well as KT moved to Soul Point.
Picking up Soul Point here, they have all the cards in their hands now. They can force a fight.
Yeah, that gets the heal out of aiming. As Ghost's going to have to back away. It's a lot of damage here from this Jinx, as Cannon's going to have to back off as well. Drake is going to be secured, as there is no possible way for Nongshim to get in and contest, and Ghost is now getting poked around, right? Like, you can see some of these range problems starting to come through for Nongshim.
Yeah, that's not one we've talked about for a while, you know, in terms of how this matchup is going to go in the arms race, because that's another thing, that when the Jinx is ahead, she starts getting further ahead. She starts getting excited in these fights. Rascal, look for a steal here.
Yeah, 5-point strike might be able to lock that one down. As he backflips on it.
He's like, oh, if you're not going to... He's like, I will steal it if you auto it.
Oh, for me? You shouldn't have.
If you don't auto it, I'll just take it. Thank you very much. Very well played, actually, from Rascal, knowing the Graves interactions there, and just knowing that basically it was checkmate. Like, if he autos it, he steals it. If he doesn't auto it, he could just kill it faster than Graves can auto twice. So
yeah. As Rascal looks for the solo here. Perfect execution comes down. There is the second one, and Rascal so comfortably does it. Now he is 1 behind the record that Canna set for 2nd place in solo kills in 2020. Now he's trying to make his way out, and he will be able to do so.
Yep, he's going to get out of here just fine. Man, look at him go.
Actually,
execute, and he will get it.
Yeah, he will.
Well played by Rascal. Solo kill, execution. Now, he's not going to be up here, but I don't think that there's any realistic way that even if Nongshim wrestle control away, they don't have Kana to actually start this Baron. So this ends up being huge for him. He picks up an extra kill, has a stopwatch available. As we're going to go all the way back to this fight, this is where really great follow-up. Watch Life here on this.
Yeah.
So clean.
That Solar Flare, man, that's what did it.
Solar Flare, super good. Zenith Blade, also well placed. Comes in at right time, right place. They get the Drake with this.
Yeah.
The Rascal finds a solo kill, which is something that you don't normally get to do against a Graves who has Hullbreaker under turret. But I think with some of those smaller resistances coming through, making actually a big impact, and Rascal being able to set this up. He's like, I can buy a lot of time.
Yeah,
and
he
does.
And then doesn't give over gold as well, as BDD standing on a ward, and that is just a free engage. He flashes to get himself out of the way, but he's slowed down by the Solar Flare. This time, the Devourer is going to come through, but it just delivers an Akali on top of this Orianna, and the Aphelios is also taken down. Canna's now trying to push them back, but two of their most important members are dead, and now KT can move anywhere they want on this map.
Yeah, they're just going to group up here on the Baron at this stage, and Nongshim are just losing fights in neutral, straight up. I mean, they're just getting out-skilled, they're getting outranged, and in every single one of these moments, the engage tools are way better for Nongshim, and that's one of the things you lack, and that's something you mentioned for Peter early on with this Tom Catch. We want to see some more engage, but, you know, it's not really a safe engaged champion, whereas Leona gives you so many opportunities in these neutral fights where you're trying to set up for objectives, to set up a pick, go and get that kill. And so much of this game has been defined by it. Nongshim, in this case, standing on a ward here, overextended, and BDD just gets collapsed on here. And this is on him, frankly.
Yeah.
No check of the vision. You're putting yourself at extreme risk against the long-range engage that KT have. They turn this into 2 kills and a Baron. And I think we're going to a game 3 in this very important series for KT Rolster. The lead is starting to just steamroll out of control, or snowball out of control, rather.
And also, is that kill? No, the kill on BDD did give assist, though. So not another solo kill, as Ghost almost just dies to aiming. The zap, not quite long enough range. But yeah, this is starting to feel like this one's getting real close to over. Only a 4,000 gold lead, but this is Soul Point, Baron now. They'll be able to take so much control, guarantee the Drake for themselves. You can see the layer of play for KT towards an end goal.
Yeah.
And the counterplay just doesn't look like it's there from Nongshim.
And we talk about range issues for the Aphelios. In the laning phase, doesn't always matter so much. In team fights, it can be a game changer, but even in situations like this with the lead this big and the rapid fire cannon online, it's a problem for farming. Like, Ghost just cannot be in the lane by himself, or aiming will solo kill him straight up. He's that far ahead. And you could just see these small things coming into play, which is why we don't really like the Aphelios into the Jinx. That's a choice that Nongshim decided to go for here. And it is now starting to hurt them amongst other issues, right? That they're behind in terms of the top lane with 3 kills now for Rascal. The soul laning for Kana no longer safe. And they have just no vision control over this whatsoever, this important infernal soul. And they have to fight for it. They've got no choice.
Yeah, they absolutely do. It's still possible that Nongshim can win a heroic fight, right, if they get their ducks in a row. But it's going to be so difficult, right? BDD has gone back. He's looking to try and put together a Void Staff, but also has a needlessly large rod. It's a bit of a ragtag amount of items, as that zap is very scary, as aiming is going to just basically from off-screen push Ghost out of the lane. And with 4 seconds on this Drake, I think that KT have just guaranteed it, exactly like we were talking about.
Checkmate basically at this stage. You've got no options as Nongshim. You can't push through all these wards and try to get on a Drake, as Kana, who was in theory supposed to have a lot more side lane control, falling so far behind in the mid game. I remember he had a massive lead early on. Now Rascal's just looking to kill him again.
Yeah, let's see whether Rascal can make it towards that 28 solo kills. Just needs one more. He's on 27 right now after killing Kana a couple of times.
Just getting some more wards cleaned up. Gonna take this blue buff away. Kana's like, I just want to do something. I want to be relevant in this side lane, but I can't.
And Rascal is very scary. Collateral damage.
Ults it and loses
Yeah,
it.
it's just going to help Rascal lock down the blue buff. That whole exchange kind of epitomizes what this game has been.
It really
Tried
does.
so hard, but in the end, you know?
Life. Yeah. He's ready to Zenith Blade. Gotta be so careful.
Now it's another Elder situation. 5 minutes on the clock on that one. 2.5 for the Baron approximately. That's what we're going to see forward around first. And KT with their setup and with their turn. Man, it's going to be so difficult for Nongshim to stop this.
KT, they won the arms race.
Yeah, I think they won the legs race as well.
They're about
all of the other races.
They're about to do the first manned space flight, and Nongshim's still sending monkeys up there at the moment. And I don't know why I made this a space race.
I don't know, but I liked it.
We had a few missed Jinx ultimates, so just thinking about satellites and stuff like that.
Yeah. Rotating around Runeterra, there is a lot of debris
also,
up there.
Vikla didn't make the
Aiming by himself is just like, he's doing this over and over again.
Okay, this is an awkward flank.
Yeah, we got a flash on in. That's a 3-man shockwave as well, as immediately Vikla is going to get taken down. This is what this composition is capable of. So glad we finally saw it. As now Cuz is trying to run this one out. He does decide to go back in. Ghost picks up the triple kill though. No way for Cuz to do anything there, and it is Ghost surviving in the end. Nongshim find the team fight finally.
Yeah, that was a very clean exchange here. The flank looked so weird from the outset of it because Dread's coming over. He has flash and ultimate available. And I'm looking at this like, in the moment I saw a weird flank coming through here, is it looked like he was just going to go over the wall and die. They didn't have any kill pressure, didn't have any follow-up damage. But you put that Orianna orb on top of him, you set up a shockwave with this, and suddenly you've got a big amount of damage, really nice engage, flying over the wall. Let's look at Dread's setup here. There's no vision of him whatsoever, and the follow-up ult from BDD is fantastic. They baited in, he's super low health, but he finds the play here. And then finally they have enough chase here to turn this one around, as Cuz had some heroics and buying some time and all that, but it was really just about the Viego Orianna engage.
Yep.
It's really going to give Nongshim a little bit more breathing room in this game, but still so far behind.
Yep, there are a lot of the issues that it does not solve. However, Nongshim being able to find these opportunities is definitely going to be important. And KT, yeah, you can't walk into three-man shockwaves. That is still going to kill you. But still, KT, great position. They can't do that again, though.
Really like the build here from Vikla, going Void Staff second, not doing the Cardinal Sin of going straight into Shadow Flame. Same could be said, of course, of BDD, but with the Graves on the other side, I think this is just a perfect choice. Notice the control wards in the inventory here of KT. They went back and basically filled up with that so they could fight over Baron as it spawns here a second time. So much deep vision. And Nongshim are really just fighting blind with a range disadvantage. With an engaged champion, BDD, who is playing, who won't have the opportunity to set up for this if he can't see what he's trying to ult.
Well, Rascal actually going to get caught out of position, and that is the execution. Kanna helps lock that one down, finally gets himself some revenge, and now Nongshim, with a 5 versus 4, might be able to get over to this Baron and lock it down.
Yeah, definitely.
The 2-0 is still on the cards.
Yeah, I know, this is actually insane. And this is a huge mistake from Rascal, just expecting Nongshim are going to all be focused on fighting for Baron vision and wasting their time, but they actually set up, they catch him there, and a little bit of greed, trying to split vision control between both objectives when the Elder isn't spawning for 2.5 minutes at the moment that he gets picked. So losing your Akali early, getting all that extra gold here as Nongshim suddenly feels viable. Now, they don't have enough control over this game and could still lose straight up a 5v4 team.
I mean, yeah, I think it's still probably likely, but still, that's exciting.
They decide not to go for the Baron, but they do clear up a lot of vision, make KT reset, and rotate back over here. Now, can they win this fight now with a good shockwave is the real question. Vision removed here once again. So difficult for Nongshim, and they just straight up don't know.
Yeah, and Peter's just wandering towards the bottom lane. They've got an Orianna on vision, and yes, Ghost will find this out, but there is absolutely nothing Nongshim can do about it. So the Baron just taken for free here by KT.
Yeah, they need BDD to be here. They need a straight up 5v5 fight. And the unfortunate thing about this is, as we're going to go back to the pick on the Rascal, he's like going in, focus him down. He's dead. Pretty simple. The really unfortunate thing about this is I think if Nongshim had kind of played it out a little bit more aggressively there, KT had no right to actually just start that Baron up with all the engage tools. I mean, look, the Orianna is the engage tool, but they have so much follow-up damage for it if they're all set up on Baron like that, with no real vision control outside of the pit itself. But Nongshim just let it go, and I think that was one of the best fights, the opportunities that we're ever going to get. They're not going to get it now.
These zaps are doing so much damage.
Pretty insane, especially when you hit them every time, because aiming is just making it happen.
Well, we got another wraparound. There's 14 seconds on the Elder, and Nongshim have gone all in on making sure they have position on the Elder Drake. Vision is now going to get set up, and the bad news is there, but now KT can rotate back down. Their ability to fight for Vision is definitely there. Rascal on the flank, aiming next to him right now. And now the Elder has spawned. Dread off Vision right now.
Gonna have to started it up. BDD, he has to have some heroics here. Kanna's teleporting in.
Yeah, Rascal is looking for Dread. Aiming's gonna spot him as well as he hops into his mist. KT looking to just get rid of the jungler, and right now Dread is on walkabout towards the bottom side of the map. Rascal, if he finds him, could definitely be a really rough time. The dissonance gonna help him get out of the way.
Ghost is all by himself here.
Yeah, trying to do what he can. Cuz looking for the opportunity. Zap's coming down, crucially, that didn't land. Dread down to 50%. Kanna now looking for the wraparound, and it's so much jostling for position here from both of these teams.
so patient here. BD waiting for his chance.
Yep, the orb needs to be respected. Great devour from Peter to avoid the Super Mega Death Rocket damage, and now Cuz dives on in there. Shockwave not exactly going to do a whole lot for Nongshim right here as the Aphelios locks down the Akali. Tahm Kench is dead, but now KT with aiming in the back are looking to try and get this one done. Dread is going to lock down the kill onto Life though, and Vikla flashes to get out of the way there.
Now they're just chasing him down, fishing a barrel here for aiming. No way out. BD is down, and that should be KT Rolster locking up this game tight. Now, they did end up losing a few members here. They lost the Akali early. Great play from Ghost. The focus fire was good. But once BDD's Shockwave missed, it hit only base of the Xinjiao there. Once that was off the table, KT just walk in and win the fight, and that's the difference in the late game scaling between these two teams. You have great engage as BDD, but Vikla is going to do long-term damage in the fight. As he did, you could see those numbers on the bottom of your screen. Dread going to go for a Miracle Steal. That's all you've got left.
Yeah, this is an ambitious Elder Drake, and it's certainly going to be a flip as it's not going to land in favor of Nongshim. The Dragon is going to come down, aiming, delivering it towards Nongshim, and that is going to be, yeah, he's well and truly satiated at this point in time. Triple kill as he tidies it up, and I think that this might just be game over for Nongshim in game 2.
Yeah, I know a lot of people scoffed at the Ghost votes last game, like, okay, he got a lot of kills, didn't do a whole lot. I think this one is going Aiming's way. He has
I think so too.
Such a phenomenal mid-game, just threatening the enemy AD carry with the lead that he had. He pushed the envelope so hard, ends up being, at the end of this, I think 3 levels ahead of Ghost as the Nexus falls. We're not there yet, but once the minions catch up, KT is going to bring us to a very critical game 3.
Nice 2-man Shockwave there, but I don't think it is going to be quite enough to stop these Nexus turrets from going down. Canna's trying to get towards his fountain as BDD will get eaten. Oh no, does manage to go golden for a moment, but Rascal tidies it up in the end. That's going to be a fair bit of damage there from Ghost as he's trying to get this one, and Rascal does end up stopping the funny business in the end. KT, they get their revenge, and we're going to game 3.
KT, really impressive wielding of what is a very difficult draft to play. And with the lead that Kana had in the early game in that top lane, it was really difficult for Rascal to find a way out. But he did. And he repeatedly pushed the side lane to the bottom side of the map, stole blue buffs away, was frustrating frustrating Kana, was pulling him out of the lane, and just repeatedly getting solo kills to actually come back into this game. And I think there will be a few votes for Rascal in this game because he shut the Graves down so hard after being 30 CS behind, as you do in this matchup. But the mid game was so perfectly played for KT, and the fact that the Victor was always going to damage-wise outscale BDD, and we only saw one great Shockwave on the top side with the VA go over the wall. Outside of that, around objectives, they were just too far behind. BDD was waiting for the perfect engage, and KT were split. They were set up. They were avoiding those Shockwaves.
Yeah.
And there's only so many options you have as the Orion when you're behind like this. And I think a lot of people might point fingers at BDD for that last Shockwave, but where was he going to aim it? Where was he going to put it? They were closing in on him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that this is one of those games where the Orianna fell behind and then it just looked like she wasn't able to do anything at all. And yes, caught on vision multiple times. I think that there were a few moments for Nongshim where they dropped the ball when it came to that, and the capitalization from KT was just beautiful in that early to mid game. Aiming did, yeah, he's such an absurd amount of damage on the Jinx, and he was just taking care of all of the poke. There was no answer for the Jinx, and we've been critical about Aphelios into Jinx compositions. This kind of epitomizes our woes that we've been experiencing.
Yeah, especially when you have an Orianna who you're so reliant on. The range really screams at you. You're also running a Graves who doesn't have a whole lot of agency. Great game here from KT Rolls for bringing us to a game 3, keeping the chances of playoffs alive.
Yeah. So, we are going to go to a short break. When we get back, the analyst carpet space, and then that deciding game. Fred at Brion fans holding their breath to see whether Nongshim can come back in this one, and KT desperate to get towards playoffs. We'll see you after the break.
나 피 없어. 미디언 먹지 마.
예. 20초. 그브 노공이고 오리아나 궁칠 거. 오리아나 궁
나
있어요.
싸움만 해도 돼.
내가 궁
싸움만.
써줄게. 오리아나 궁 쓰기. 아 이거 오리아나 제가 밀어낼게요.
밀어내줘.
밀어내줘.
10초.
따라고. 밀어냈고.
타워.
밀어냈고. 타워.
야, 쌈 봐도 돼.
타워 쳐줘.
네, 나온다.
타워 내 장로라서 우리 그냥 놓을 거야. 타워 치면서 보자. 타워. 타워야.
쳐야지.
타워.
나이스. 왜 주워주냐. 타워 쳐야지.
우물까지 들어가는 사람 있어.
타워 치라.
When the sky falls and the sun turns black, when the earth halts, then don't look back. Hold me closer, can you feel my heart? We can conquer and win back all. The tide is changing, floods are coming clear to see. The page is turning, can you feel this energy? Light breaks through the darkness, they are fires in the night. Nothing can break us when we rise. We run on the edge and across the flames. The world we knew is not the same. Feel your soul, feel your desire. We walk through the fire. Leave the space and watch it burn. Let the king and we return. See the sun so bright and high. We walk through the fire. The embers glowing, we're waiting for the blaze, ascending from the ashes, bonfires in the haze. Standing tall now, your feet are on the ground. You fought your demons, nothing breaks you down. The tide is changing, floods are coming clear to see. The page is turning, can you feel this energy? Light breaks through the darkness, they are fires in the night. Nothing can break us when we rise. We run on the edge and across the flames. The world we knew is not the same. Feel your soul, feel your desire. Walk through the fire. Leave the space and watch it burn. Let the king and
Welcome back, guys. We are here at the Analyst Carpet Space to break down game number 2. So KT able to grab one back here and tie up the series, keep their chances of making the playoffs alive and better had they gone down 2-0. What were your thoughts on this draft to start us off, Chronicler?
I'm not the biggest fan of the ㅣ priority. I feel like the champion is okay overall, but it hasn't really been that strong in general. It's, in my opinion, somewhat reliant on finding some early moments. And if you look at how Nongshim wants to play the fights as well, I think a jungler that would have either facilitated the Orianna a lot more if that was a direction that you were going to look into, or something that could provide a bit more frontline would have been a lot stronger. And you did see later on in the game that, barring that one great flank that Dread had, they actually did have a problem in actually setting up that Orianna, and that kind of ties into the overall theme, which is, I like some components of the Nongshim drafts, but the Graves and the Viego feel to me like picks that they get because the players like them, not because they necessarily work that well in the context. Whereas for KT, yeah, very well rounded. I think you can run into some issues if your Akali falls substantially behind, or if you get put on the back foot and you can't clear waves and skill tier 2 free item spikes. But outside of that, maybe don't pick Aphelios when Jinx is open.
That was the strangest thing to me. I don't understand that very much at all. Maybe Ghost is very comfortable on the pick, but safe to say it was not the winner this time around. I kind of like what Wolf was talking about during the game as well with the engage on the side of Nongshim. Either your Viego runs straight at, you know, Victor, Leona, and all that stuff, or your Orianna's going to get a shockwave in. And so you're kind of lacking there. So not really able to set up, especially from behind, whereas, you know, maybe you get that one flank with Dread. But other than that, they were just sitting there kind of losing.
Yeah, imagine if you have a Jarvan or a Zek, you know, you want to get real crazy. Just at least, or a Poppy, something that can at least reliably go in and actually utilize the power of that Orianna.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, we do have some replays for this one, of course. We're going to take a look at what Rascal was able to get done in this game first.
Because CS is actually really overrated. The only thing that matters is getting solo kills. Rascal knows this better than any laner that we have in the league at the moment. And he does so expertly, right? And Wolf already mentioned it as well. Some of the nerfs to Goldrick are coming into fruition here, but at the same time, Graves, if he still had magic resist on his E, then he would probably feel a little bit better about that matchup. But as is, into a fat Akali, like especially late game, I think the Graves pick was kind of expected that this one was going to be an Akali top, and I would have liked to see something that can deal with that a little bit better.
Yeah, just kind of got ran around the map as we did see there. We are going to take a look at one of the mid-game fights here as well. And this is where this ward really gets a lot of value.
Yeah, the key thing here, of course, is that understandably, they're looking for an angle to get onto the backline, right? And aiming is relatively low, but BD unfortunately doesn't sweep here. And the immediate response coming through from Cuz and Life, both of which had stellar games in this series, or in this one specifically rather, immediately punished, even with the Devour, even with all the summoners being used. And that leads to a situation in which any subsequent setup becomes incredibly hard, leads to eventually the Infernal Soul going over. And even though they find one really good fight in topside, it didn't actually matter at all because, again, you're down Infernal Soul and you have no map control, and it's really hard for Orianna to get any value.
Yeah, that kind of felt like, to me, the last chance that they did have in this one. Try to go for that flank with the Orianna. Once that fails, you fall too far behind. We are going to take a look at the Elder fight as well, and kind of just break down, you know, it was a bit closer than I think I was even expecting here.
It really was. Life's engages were exceptional, right? Immediately forcing out a Devour and making sure that everyone was on the back foot. But then this Shockwave actually spreads up the fight a little bit, and Aiming and Vikla are not in the best position to immediately get all the damage down. So there is a little bit of kite back as Rascal goes a little bit too happy. But fortunately, at this point, the health bars are really, really low. And it's the range advantage, right? And this is why we don't like the Aphelios pick and why Jinx has been so highly prioritized is because if Jinx is alive in situations like this, you just always win. Whereas, as we saw, obviously Ghosted was dead, but imagine that it was flipped around and you were in Aphelios trying to get onto people. Yeah. Doesn't work.
Jinx has a much better time in that scenario, as we did see. And the Viego and the Graves as well, just kind of on the run. But of course, they were pretty far behind, and they were just trying to make a play on the Elder Freak. A bit of a desperate final stand from the side of Nongshim. but it did not quite work out in the end. So pretty interesting about this one. We do have the player of the game ready to go, so let's see who does pick it up here for game number 2. It will be Aiming this time.
And I thought Aiming had a very good game. I personally went with Life. I thought his engages in the mid to late stage of the game were extremely clean, but Aiming has kind of flown under the radar as one of the better AD carries this split because there are so many AD carries to talk about in the LCK, right? Like there's Deft, there's Gumayushi, there's Ruler, there's Dokdom, there's Teddy. It's just too many people, really, I think, to mention. But Aiming has been, honestly, pretty much a hallmark of consistency and the one part of this KT roster that has been always good. Cause and Life, I thought, again, they had an amazing series here, but we've also seen games where they kind of had a really, really rough time in finding all the value. Rascal, while he has been able to solo kill a lot, hasn't always had the cleanest performance out of lane. And Aiming has just always been there. Stalwart, hard to get on top of, and a very consistent win condition for this roster.
Yeah, kind of feels like another game where, you know, the AD carry gets pretty fed and then does a really good job. I think Aiming a little bit more obvious this time on the Jinx compared to Ghost on the Zeri in game number 1, but kind of a similar idea there as he will pick up 5 out of 13. And no tiebreaker decided as Chronicler once again just gonna zoom in. Yeah, okay, so yeah, I don't know about that life vote, but give him a little shout out. You know, he did have some good engages as well. But that's gonna do it for us here on the Carpet Space. Let's go back to the casters for game 3.
I really liked the little zoom in there on the Chronicler. I like it that G-Sun and our team are keeping him honest with those votes. It hasn't exactly. He's been a little bit on his own, a little bit of a hipster here today.
I think I'm down with both of his votes though. I think he had a bit of a hipster take, but I think it was a good take. I think the Leona engages, especially when you watch those highlights as well that they chose, puts him in a very good light.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something, because we talked about how close this series is. I want to talk about Kwangdong Freaks for a second. They're not in this series, but they will be impacted by it. They have 2 of the easiest opponents remaining, Hanwha Life Esports and Live Sandbox. If they win both of those, which they very likely will, then if KT lose this, they will have to defeat Genji. They will have to beat Genji to actually pass Fred Brion, because Fred Brion has 7 wins. And even if Fred Brion lose, KT Rolster will have to get a 7th win. So if they don't win this, they have to beat Genji. So I just want to put the stakes even higher. I want to remind everybody that, again, this assumes that Kwangdong Freaks will take those wins. This is super important here for KT Rolster, or else they will have to make the same miracle they pulled off in round 2 happen twice.
Yeah. It is 2 of either KT, Fred Brion, or Kwangdong Freaks that are making it to the playoffs. Right now, it does look like Kwangdong Freaks are almost a shoo-in, considering, like you were saying, their opposition. But a win against Genji is a very difficult one to guarantee. Even though KT have done it in the past, right? They got a random 2-0 against Genji. It was a thing that happened. It was confusing, but it did happen. So they could do that again, or they could beat Nongshim right now. They'll have to do it from the red side. Last time, it was an R5 Renekton problem. We'll see whether that is going to once again come back to bite them, as looks like we're going back to some of our Game 1 bans, with the Jinx being taken off the board here immediately by Nongshim.
Yep, taking that one away straight away. Not going to let Aiming carry this game. There's the Aphelios ban that comes with it. And we may be, once again, going down a AP Kaisa game for KT Rolster. That might be the path we walk in this draft. But it didn't go well for them in the first game.
Yeah.
And Nongshim know how to punish it, know how to play around it. The blue side advantage in this series, considering these 2 teams' playstyles, is so massive, which is why, you know, the home field advantage that Nongshim came to the best of 3 with today makes such a big difference. And you could feel it in these drafts. They have a lot more control over aiming when they're on blue side. And they will take away Vikla's Ahri once again.
Yeah, this is looking like a Zeri first pick to me. But there is still the Caitlyn available, and the Caitlyn was the final ban from KT in game number 1. I think if Zeri's locked in and then you are staring down the barrel of a Caitlyn Karma, then you're having a really rough time, right?
Yeah, I think he'd rather fight the Zeri and just try to outdo what you did the last time around, but they will leave it open. Now, this is the scary part, because if Zeri gets picked here for Nongshim, then they just pick the Caitlyn Karma and push it in and get a huge advantage. That's not something that in AP Kai'Sa can do in the laning phase. She's going to be a lot slower. They fell behind, obviously, too, as we saw in that first game. So KT get a redo here, but this time they should be able to select the Caitlyn and actually take the right choice. And, you know, it's interesting to me that they would both ban the Aphelios and Jinx, but then be like, but I'll give aiming Caitlyn into Zeri. Oh, that's cool with me. I'm cool with that, but I'm not cool with the other 280 carries he plays. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's really rough. I think the Karma is the most important part of this, right? Because you can play Karma Jhin, Karma Caitlyn, Karma Ezreal. You're absolutely fine with almost any of these combinations for shutting down that Zeri lane early on. And so now KT can actually priority pick a jungler perhaps, or whatever they would like. I don't think they're priced into locking the Caitlyn in here, but they're going to do it anyway.
It looks like, yeah. I mean,
there's absolutely no reason not to. However, you don't necessarily have to if there's a priority pick you're looking for. But
yeah, it's also not a meta right now, like at this moment in time where we're not really thinking about jungler counter picks. So picking your jungle early doesn't necessarily mean that much unless you wanted to have the priority pick. But with Dread's Viego attachment tonight, unless you wanted to deny that one, you're probably okay if he just locks that one in here. Twisted Fate is open, and this is one way you could try to punish this Caitlyn push bottom side, but I think it's very risky.
Ooh, back to Peter's Yuumi.
Yeah, that's where it all started. Maybe that's where the season ends too.
Yeah, you can see having a bit of conversation here, but I really do like the Zapcat bottom lane. Big fan.
Very strong lane, and very strong in the late game as well, getting sped up nonstop. Twisted Fate, I think, is still a really strong pick here.
Yeah, I think it's fine. You can see a bit of a wry smile on BDD's face as well. Good to see that his spirits are up once again. And
now,
I like this start for Nongshim.
LeBlanc was open, but they just want to play the Galio into the Twisted Fate. We've seen this so many times, and
I'm not a huge fan.
No, I'm not a huge fan of it either, because there were a lot of other priority picks available that you could have taken. You could have taken a jungle here and then kept your plan a secret. But KT is like shouting from the tops of the mountains, like, this is my plan. Please don't ban Camille.
Yeah.
This is my plan. I just want everyone to know this is what I am going to do with this draft. Now, there are still some pivots available, of course, but with the support already locked into, like, this one couldn't be more face up. And I think Nongshim now have some tough choices to make, because if they put all their eggs in the Zeri basket, which you basically are doing with the Twisted Fate pick, you're not going to have big damage mid. You really need to think about your disengage opportunities when we're talking about Kana's pick here. Not going to be a Graves game for him this time, I don't think. And maybe something like a Gragas would be actually much more useful in peeling for the Zeri in this game. The Renekton's gone. Imagine the Camille will follow here for Nongshim.
I'd hope so. Camille does fit into Nongshim's comp also very, very well. One thing that I would love to see is even just Camille Diana to come through, right? You mentioned the lack of damage from the Twisted Fate. Well, you get a lot of damage from a Diana coming out of the jungle. So that is certainly an option.
Yeah, I like it.
The Graves is going to be banned, but I think both of these teams are going to be fighting for Camille. I think that, like, if it's left up, KT are likely to pick it.
I think that's why they have to ban it. And there are still some other options here, like the Jax. You know, they could pick to try to respond. Ban the Lee Sin. Really interesting to see Nongshim just going to leave this one up. And I guess even if you know KT's plan, if you just leave it up, and this is another way to do it.
Yeah, I don't mind this.
This feels like a, roundabout way of doing things, but it is still going to get you the same result in the end. Does open up a lot of different jungle picks here too for KT. Like this a lot.
The Akali being considered. I like Jax a lot as well.
Yeah.
We'll see exactly
Interesting
where they
to see
go.
this into the Tryndamere. We've seen a lot of Fioras picked up as well into this.
Going for a bit of extra engage with Jarvan being locked in.
You have so much engage here. And Zeri is going to be sitting back with a cat on her back, and she's going to be zooming. That's the idea. I like this for
be a lot of damage. Not a lot of damage if the Nara is locked in. But of course, Zeri does a lot of mixed damage as well. So you're not necessarily hurting too much as far as that is concerned. But there are so many eggs in the Zeri basket.
Yeah. I mean, even something like a Kennen here could be okay, but tough into the Tryndamere laning matchup. Not a champion Kana really plays all too much. Not that he can't do it, but it's not one of his favorites. And the Nara is definitely more in line with that.
Yep.
As now it's time to find out what jungle pick is going to be here for KT Rolster. Considering all the hard engage, you know, the range they have with their Caitlyn, you know, Peel could be great, and I think that's part of the idea with this Volibear, and then you could even further get your Caitlyn ahead on the bottom side.
I really like Volibear Galio because you can force yourself into the backline really comfortably.
You're basically just going to turn the turret off and everybody's going in. And if Zeri dies in any way, shape, or form in any team, it doesn't matter if she dies in the first part of the fight or if she dies at the end. If she dies, if she's dead, Nongsham's not winning that fight. Not going to happen unless something goes disastrously wrong. So it's going to be a really interesting test here for Ghost. Now, he will also be on the back foot in the lane, which is why it was very puzzling that we saw the bans towards Aiming's 2 best champions, but then they were like, but we will give you the best lane ever and a lot of extra free gold. And I think that this decision may come back to bite Nongshim big time. And it was such an easy call to make in the draft, to draft differently than this. They really just wanted to put Ghost on the Zeri, try to make this happen a second time. But you're not laning into Kai'Sa this time around. They took the better option.
Yeah, no, they definitely did. And remember last time around as well, the beginning of the lane was almost 100% sacrificed. They lost experience from the first wave while going for that gank onto BDD in the mid lane. And so now, Ghost is probably going to have to deal with a Caitlyn that's parked in lane, ready to shove. And that is exactly how it is going to continue throughout that laning phase. So Ghost and Pete are a lot on their shoulders, and they're not going to be getting that much help. There is, however, a Twisted Fate problem. And so Destinies towards the bottom lane, I think, are going to be important early, especially when you can pair that with the Jarvan that has so much gank pressure in the early stages of the game. Both of these junglers, I think we're going to have our eyes glued to for some early proactivity to get their lanes ahead. I don't think it's necessarily as important just because Aiming and Life are going to be shoving anyway, but I think Dread and BDD need to come together and get some punishment done. As we have a look at KT, 5-man, moving in towards the enemy jungle.
Yeah, I'm looking potentially for a big invade here. We'll check this brush.
Yeah, Storm's going to come down as BDD just wanders over and is going to spot that there are a lot of people here.
Yep, and then we'll not be able to start the jungle this way, and also Zeri and Yuumi in a kind of an awkward spot. We'll have to hug the turret. And it's going to be the start here on the blue side of the jungle. There's a Ghost. Be careful about moves like this. We'll get his way out of here.
Just going to back away. And so it is just going to be Cuz starting here on the bottom side.
This will affect how Dread paths, and it will make it a lot more difficult for him to counter gank and defend this Zeri who's going to be pushed in. This is a really nice start here for KT.
Yeah, Nongshim are trying to come on over. Flag goes down and Life throws out that Mantrid Q. Everyone getting over here. We might have a tussle as the Peacemaker does fly through. And it looks like Nongshim are at least going to be able to get the start onto this one.
Risky choice here for Nongshim to actually try to fight this one out. This could backfire big time, especially if Caitlyn gets ahead.
Yeah.
This might be game deciding if they mess this up, and they're going to lose
yeah, flag comes in, and Dread actually locks it down. Looks for a knock-up as well on the backside, and KT, they waste a lot of time.
Yeah, this was a really risky play from Nongshim to try to contest, but it works out. They get away with this. They are able to take it back, and that's a massive start here. As you mentioned, the wasted time for the Volibear is going to be so frustrating, and Dread's not done. He wants more.
Yeah, Dread actually knows that there's no vision around here as well. Just going to walk his way in. Cuz in a lot of trouble now. Knock-up comes forward, does get himself the heal, and the smite comes down as well. As Dread's trying to fight this one out, gets himself some Conqueror, but there's Press the Attack available for the Volibear. And now Dread's like wondering what he really wants to do.
Oh no, the scream!
Yeah. I feel like
I've seen this
until the smite came in.
Yeah,
it was like, oh, doesn't look so good now.
I've seen this one before. I can't remember if it was Dread, but I think it was Dread last week. Got an early lead and then just decided to push it further and then actually paid for it. Meanwhile,
bit of a battle here on the bottom side as Pete is down to 100. Aiming, burning down, and yep, Dread just going to steal away some Raptors. And that is going to be what results in that last little scuffle.
I mean, we are really just dancing on a tightrope right now as Nongshim with some of the moves they made, but they're getting away with it.
Yeah, Vikla has to flash. He'll trade an EQ for a flash any day of the week. So nicely done here from Dread.
Definitely feeling great about that. The Galio being flashless now into this Jarvan. can come back for a second pass here with the gold card setup, and with no flash, Vikla is now vulnerable. So Nongshim getting a lot of advantages around the map, which is going to be good because they certainly needed this. He's like, I ate it, I got it.
Yep.
And that's the end of that. So really interesting to see how well under pressure Nongshim grouped up for that, dealt with it.
I think he just said like, did I do well? Was I good, guys?
Yeah, I think he said Taran na. Like,
Yeah.
basically like asking for praise is.
Yep. And I'd say yes. Managed to get the smite. Nailed it.
Super well played. Again, super high risk.
Okay. Well,
that happened in a pro
dead.
game for playoff contention.
Yeah, Life just wanting to make sure that he doesn't have to channel the back. That is going to secure it. And as you can see, gets out of lane just fine. Really love it. Cuz now he's going to find Dread, but BDD with control of the lane is going to be able to get the flash out from Cuz. Just walking on over with that gold card threat. That means that Cuz does have to flash.
Yeah.
And we do need to remind people that this is one of BDD's favorites. We're seeing as well that the Galio answer into the Twisted Fate is...
hasn't been working out.
Yeah, not exactly the most consistent of answers. You understand why, right? Heroic entrance being able to answer the Destiny Gate.
Yeah, it's very strong here into the Twisted Fate, and especially into comps, because it often happens too where the Twisted Fate comp means the AD carry is the only damage, especially in metas like this. So, you know, Galio is so great at setting up dive comps, but it hasn't been working out because there's so much coordination right now in the LCK around defending these AD carries, making sure they're safe. We have so many players who can play the Thresh, can play the Tahm Kench, can play the Yuumi so incredibly well, that even though it looks good on paper, it can backfire for sure.
Yeah.
Ease of execution, though, I think much easier here for KT Rolster. And with the bottom push they have, which was guaranteed by the first few picks, they are going to be able to pick up the early Drake. And he calls that he's just going to use it to go back.
All right.
Picks up some extra gold here for his Spell Thief's Edge.
Value. Love it.
Yeah. You know, high risk to do something like that. If there's anybody nearby, you could give a kill over, but when they know for a fact that there's no one in the vicinity, just going to speed up your recall, basically, and get some extra stacks.
Not too bad. As Life is going to get prowled and does find himself a Mantra Q. Very nicely done.
Early Drake. No Infernal Soul this time, nor Mountain. So your Cloud Dream is still alive. And the end of this series.
Ooh, that would also complete yet another Earth, Wind, and Fire, which we do very much enjoy.
We're big fans. And, I mean, the Rift Herald fight is not going to happen for a while. We have 2 minutes to go on that. But it's really hard for Nongshim to actually take control of that with Ghost just perma pushed in. He can't leave here, or he'll just give it further lead, but if he stays, then just also loses control of that. And, like, no, KT have so much flexibility. And this is just one of many reasons why you shouldn't pick Zeri into Karma Caitlyn, or just any Karma pushing duo of that measure, because you lose so much of the early game control over the first Drake, the first Herald. You give plates over. Even if you get the Rift Herald for your team, you're not trading up.
I mean, right now, though, you can see that, Ghost is pretty even. Only a couple of CS behind, so I'd like to see Aiming and Life be able to push a little bit more aggressively, possibly threaten a little bit more. And as you can see, Galio cheating towards that bottom side. Aiming and Life still just trying to fight with mainly the minions. Not really too worried about what Zeri's doing right now.
It is hard to start getting kill pressure onto the Zeri when she has a Yuumi, because she just gets healed up constantly. You could trade like this so easily.
Yeah, dashing forward. Peter actually in trouble, though. Ignite ticking down as Ghost is trying to fight this one out, and that's a beautiful Peacemaker. Dread here just a little bit too late, and this is what we were asking for.
Yeah, they really wanted Dread to come over and scoop this up, but now he's going to get caught as well. He's going to have to leave.
Yeah, Cuz looking to come down here. He's only level 5, but that is just a very dead Ghost. And man, you ask and you shall receive.
What did you say, Atlas? You were looking to see down here a little bit more pressure, a little bit more aggression, trying to push that lead, and that is exactly what happens. This is a play that is made and set up by Ghost and Peter. Like, they actually think they can trade aggressively with the heals coming through, and they actually push the issue. And then Peter takes too much damage. He detaches again and is punished. Cuz is pushing down as well, so it was not... nor was Dread fast enough to get there. Neither was he fast enough to get there to punish this. Nor was he in position actually to make this play happen. Like, if they're trying to coordinate this type of trade, as you can see, Ghost gets healed up, goes forward for the trade here, and just cannot reattach. And he
really nice grab placement from Aiming as well.
Yep. So well played. And Dread's down here, and then he's like, well, we'll bait him in. And then Aiming's like, I'm just going to keep pushing forward. You don't have level 6, so you can't Cataclysm me, and even if you did, Zeri alone at this stage in the game is too weak. She has no damage.
Yeah. Oh, Dread being a little bit sneaky here. Cuz is going to Blast Cone his way over, and we'll find that there is a Jarvan. And Dread's like, I guess I'll just pop over here.
And Cuz is like, that ward silhouette looks way different than I remember. Looks kind of like a Jarvan.
Yeah. Taunt will connect as VOD knows that he just wants to stop Cuz from getting forward. Dread loses a whole bunch of his health bar, and it's just a weird situation. Right? A weird turn of events.
With those kills, too, on the bottom side, Nongshim have not been able to start the Rift Herald off. His Ghost is once again going to be forced out of here. I'm going to clear up all this vision. And they just, realistically, because Dread decided to make that attempted play happen in the jungle, which, you know, was high risk and, like, pretty low chance of reward, as he's just being shoved out. Like, he can't make anything happen topside where they have strength, where Kana is actually pushing this lane in. And, like, this whole game is being dictated by the fact that Caitlyn Karma exists.
Well, that's a taunt onto VOD. He's going to get a stun card. Flash comes through pretty early, and that is going to keep VOD alive, but they just wanted to get rid of that flash, and they did so beautifully.
And if they were able to get the kill on the BDD, that they probably take Herald with this. They still have priority, and they can rotate over and even start to put the push into Kana. Speaking of which...
Yeah, Rascal just going to have to walk this one out. He is Tryndamere, to put that back into our brains, so he's not dying anytime soon. But still, Counter is looking for some Mega Gnar.
They're going to commit.
Move, yeah, towards this Rift Herald. Mega Gnar in perfect timing as well, as that's a Gnar into the wall. Rascal down relatively low, but now Dread has to get that Cataclysm over. It's an early ult, but it's going to keep Rascal alive. Canna's trying to fight this one out, but Rascal he's just fighting the Rift Herald. Eventually, he's just going to spin his way out and engaging onto the Tryndamere. Feels not super great here, as now Vikla trying to make his way out. Gold card onto a Galio, but there's no follow-up. Life's moving up here as well, and Life picks up the eye. KT in so much control this game, and now BDD is likely to die. Rascal close to dead, but no, it was just a bait all along. The Ignite's going to tick down. Life grabs that kill. And KT are 5-0.
Such a massive lead now in this game, and free access to these plates. The Rift Herald did get picked up by Life, so that's not ideal, but... And I say free access to these plates, Fred goes earlier. But anyway, it's a huge win for them. They're not going to be able to control the top side of the map. Not going to pick up too many of these plates just yet. But yeah, the engage was definitely questionable here for Nongshim, and the ability for KT to actually match this fight with the Galio ultimate that they have as well. Like, there's so much risk once again here for Nongshim, but you feel priced into this. Like, I need to win this fight because we're already losing bottom side. I need to get my Zeri I need to get her into a big game where she can actually play the game. We can't just give this Rift Herald up, as Vikla just uses the Elise Repel to come into the sky for a second, and then helps everybody get away. And gold card comes back in here, but you are not going to be able to win this exchange. And this is Life calling this fight. He has no flash. And they turn it just barely.
That Mantra Q was such high value.
Yeah, he was like, die.
Cannon's just dead. Yep, spinning slash Rascal. And that is going to even the solo Q rankings with the guy that he just killed.
Yep.
Second overall. There's the final chapter. Ghost gonna have to flash though, as Peter eats the ace in the hole. And yep, not as delicious as a toad in a hole, which is just bread with an egg in it. My dad used to make it for me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's great. That, not so good.
Yeah, I love those. We call it submarine eggs where I was from.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know. Some people call it eggs in a basket.
Yeah, I think that's the other name. I think it's Toad in a Hole is the... Okay, Rascal is underneath the turret once again. He does have ult. Is he looking for 29? Or is he just going to die is the question. And the answer is yes. That is the counter kill here from Canna, as we do have Shelly making a charge on the bottom side.
Yep.
He's going to be able to get down there, and KT will take an inner turret as well.
Yeah, Aiming's like, well, I guess we could lane swap after I get all these plates. You know, maybe I go top side, get some plates, but what if we push all the way to the inner? Yeah. Like, what if we went all the way? Yeah. And like KT players were like, no, you crazy man, you can't go all the way. He's like, no, I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to get all the advantages. Like, they disrespect me. They banned my Jinx, they banned my Aphelios, but then they picked Zeri when Caitlyn was up. I will not pick Kai'Sa in game 3. and I will shoot the turrets a lot. And that he did.
Yeah.
That's 2 Drakes.
And then he went all the way, Wolf.
He went all the way.
Oh my god. I was not expecting him to go all the way. I was expecting this, though. That's what I'm talking about. Cloud Soul to come through for the last game of the day. We were denied our second series, but I will not be denied my Cloud Soul.
No. As you know, this was the actual successful one that we came in too late.
This was 28 for Rascal. He was then very greedy for 29.
And didn't have ult for that one. Just playing it better. Gets his rage bar up. This time, taking a few turret shots here, and with the hop available, just gets outplayed.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Life is still alive. Heroic Entrance going to come down. Dread taking a lot of damage. Life shields himself. What the hell? He survives for so long. It will be the Yuumi that kills him in the end, I believe, with an Ignite, but not before the value was gotten.
Oh, yeah, and then the kill goes over to a Yuumi, so you don't even feel like you're really getting that much out of this at all. KT once again trading up in another skirmish.
I think we could say the Life went all the way.
Yeah, he went all the way.
That's like the whole bottom lane's going all the way the whole time.
It's going all the way.
I don't even know where this came from, but I love it.
It's not going to stop. He can't be stopped. His shields are great. And right now, Chronicler's like shaking his fist like, I'm going to vote for Life again.
Oh, yes. And I think that you should as well. Give Chronicler a friend there with the Life votes. He's playing very, very well.
He really is. And the Karma pick that was up, you know, sometimes we see teams forget about this. You know, sometimes we see teams ignore this when they have the Karma up. They're like, nah, I'll play something else. Pick a Kai'Sa or do something else that's, you know, quite absurd. Pick an Ahri instead. But no. KT this time just going to play into their win condition on the bottom side of the map.
Air Force forward. BDD not going to get hit by the net. Ace in the hole comes down, and there's not a lot of answers. BDD's like, what the heck do I do? This lady's gun is a little bit too high range.
Rascal
now
once
Canna,
again.
yeah, they're fighting one more time. Good turn from Canna. Avoids chickens on his head. And it's a 7,000 gold lead, Wolf. KT have really broken this game open.
It started off okay here for Nongshim in the jungle, but Dread with that questionable engage on the Rift Herald. I mean, a lot has gone wrong. His Ghost is not safe here.
Well, Dread's going to come over and try and at least help him out. Friendship is going to cause KT to back away.
Yeah, Vikla didn't have his ult, as this is just Life. I mean, this is the one time you want to see the first-person view, right?
1 versus 3, and, like,
Karma Shield
somehow works out for KT.
Yeah, and Life gets ignited, but he almost lives. There's a world where he doesn't die there.
Yeah.
That's the disadvantages that Nongshim have. I mean, Life played that really well, but Nongshim also really, really far behind, and it doesn't get easier from here. Xeri is in a position now where the diving champions are doing very well. They're very ahead. She can't play the game. She can't farm. There's no mid turret to hide behind. So where does she go on the map to get minions? She's like, I'm going to go on top side where that turret's still alive for now. But once this Rift Herald is taken, I think Life and Aiming are going to go all the way.
I think they're going to continue going all the way, Wolf. I absolutely agree.
Not part of the way. No, not stopping at second base.
Nope. No, it's all the way. It's all the way this time. KT going to be able to move now towards this top side if they want to take down this turret. They won't need Shirley for it, though. She is more valuable than just a minuscule amount of health bar on this turret.
Yeah.
But she could take down the inner if they would like to. Instead, just going to use an empowered recall here is Cuz, and he'll just hold on to Shirley, employ her for something else.
Yeah, he doesn't need a Rift Herald for that. BDD finds himself even in levels with Aiming in this game as he's just been pushed away. He hasn't been able to farm. Like, he's 20 CS down on a Galio. And, I mean, he's very happy for the extra gold his passive is going to grant him when he kills minions, because he is very far behind, and there is nowhere else for him to get Destiny Gate into. Like, he actually cannot kill anyone. Like, nobody. That not know how. I don't know, Wizard of Oz. Like, this game is well and truly done. This game is over. I'll say it. The last game of the night. It's over. It's done.
It is.
KT are pushing ahead.
Yeah, and of course, Fred Breon fans a little bit upset if KT are going to take it. But for KT fans, I'm so proud of you. No one got excited. And it looks like, well, actually, this game isn't over yet. So Monk W's in chat. It's always, every game's throwable, Wolf.
Every game is throwable, it's true.
As Rascal's trying to prove us wrong. Everfrost does come down, BDD's going to heal. Spinning Slap closes the gap once again as Rascal's looking for another solo kill. He does have the Undying Rage, so he's going to now try and flash his way out. Destiny going to come forward as Rascal is being quite frustrating as he spins over the wall. He'll die now, but so will the inhibitor turret. And Shirley's even going to get some work done on the inhibitor. So we mentioned Cuz was going to use it for some higher value. Well, Skull into inhibitor, certainly going to be pretty high value.
Yep, all the way. Aiming is going all the way. All right, now he's gotten so much value out of this early lead he has. Now he can threaten anybody. He's just going to be using his ult on cooldown.
Oh, yeah.
And Ghost can't be anywhere. This is what I was talking about. The Zeri really, I mean, look at her items compared to aiming. He's already got his rapid fire cannon online. He's going for his third item as a pickaxe and some bags.
Yeah, got some brown bags. He can go mining and also has a fan. Nice work, Zeri. But aiming's got a whole bunch of really cool stuff, like a cannon that fires very rapidly, a cloak for the winter, and a gale force, which is, I guess, a bow. He doesn't really need that. He's got a gun.
Yeah, a rapidly firing one.
Yeah.
A bow that makes him move faster for some reason.
Yeah, dashy bow.
Maybe if he pulls on the strings just hard enough, it'll sling him the other way.
Yeah. But he already has an ability that does that too.
True. So he's even more difficult to kill, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess so. As Rascal's taking a lot of damage here from Canna. As he's underneath the turret. Good boomerang. But just barely goes wide. Rascal's going to vacate the area. Canna's still pretty strong. Does have the Trinity Force, so he's been listening to Summit on Twitter. I like that one a lot.
As we all should.
Yeah.
Very
Twitter's actually great.
So romantic.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a big collapse for KT Rolster. They have Galio with teleport and ult available. This is very risky what Nongshim are doing.
They know exactly what's going on though, as aiming could be in trouble, but he just nets to get himself out of the way. Rascal, yeah, he's got the Undying Rage, so he's going to be able to press that button and not die. It's going to be fine. Ulti comes through here for Cuz, turns off an already dead turret, which is kind of cool. And Dread's going to try and get out of here. The Galio tries to turn up the flash forward and Cuz gets the stun. Cannon's real dead. KT find the pick they were looking for.
It's kind of crazy that they only get one kill here. At least Dread and Peter will be able to get out of here.
Backing on a ward. That ain't it feels good. But he will survive.
They survive, but this means aiming's just got one. He's found another lane he can go down.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Yeah, how far is he going to go? Well,
all the way.
Yeah, I think that might be the case, as they are pushing. The Destiny, not as frightening as it has been in other games.
Just like so not funny, but funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're losing it just a little bit. Oh, dear.
I mean, all right, so we could talk about playoff implications a little bit more here because, again, assuming Kwangdong beat their next opponents, Hanwha Life Esports and Live Sandboxes.
Yeah.
I guess we should talk about this for a second first. But this is agreed from Dread and Kana. And Kana feels safe to this because we got a Yuumi and a Jarvan with him. So he's like, oh, if they try to turn this. But there's also a Volibear who's going to run really fast, and then a global champion who has teleport. And he's like, I'm going to teleport down to the bottom side, then I'm going to ult on. And they get away pretty well because Yumi's really speedy. So the Galio ult ends up being wasted. So they get a teleport out of this, I guess. But anyway, back to playoff implications.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So if Quantum Freaks win against Hanwha Life Esports and Live Sandbox, that's the expected one, and KT win this game, which is more expected than anything, then they will actually find themselves at a -4 game score, so one ahead of Fred at Brion. So if both, pause for a second. Yeah. If both of the upcoming games for Fred at Brion and KT are 0-2s, then KT will get into playoffs no matter what.
Yes.
So, you know, this is really tense for Fred at Brion fans and really tragic as well, because they're watching this going, well, the only way that we get in is if we take a game off of Damwon Kia. And even that's not enough. And then it's like,
if it had been a 2-0 for KT though, then Fred Brion had to beat Damwon Kia.
That's true.
So now it is a little bit better for them. Ghost, not very better for him. As Ace in the Hole is going to come forward. Peter's going to block it. Very nicely done. But the Winds of War are there. And now Peter is a cat on a book with nowhere to go. And the Everfrost is going to help block him down. Cuz grabs yet another kill. 3-0 and 4 now for the Volibear. Much better early game this time around on the pick. Because now Rascal is going to have some popcorn chicken before he spins his way out. And Cannon just wants to chase him down.
Yep. Oh,
yeah,
boomerang. Nice dodge. They're just going to take Baron casually. The observers are like, pan over to KT, also just taking Baron very casually.
Hey, and BDD can watch. I don't know what they're going to be able to do about it. so much. He is going to Destiny in. Let's see whether Nongshim can make this a 50-50. Dread over to the side, has Smite at the ready.
No flash.
Yeah.
Has flag drag, of course, to get over the wall.
I like the idea of a turn. Don't want to flip for this one because it's going to go back. So Dread over here. He's now clearing out vision. So KT knows that there's a Jarvan in the area. Rascal spins over, and now Dread's just in the pit. It is going to be secured there by Cuz. Nicely done by KT. Still a bit of a flip, but BDD's just dead off to the side. Double kill for aiming as Canna's trying to run this one out. Vikla flashes forward though, gets himself the Justice Punch. Really nicely done there in the end. And KT, I think, will just march up the mid lane and maybe just win the game.
And KT are very happy with the Zeri picks they were given. I mean, this is once again, and I don't know how much I can overstate it, but like KT had the ability to control the bottom side of the map. It gave them the first Drake, it gave them the Rift Herald control. They were able to win subsequent team fights, and they always had bot prio. And then they gave Rascal the ability to control his lane because he got the Tryndamere.
Yeah.
And it all just comes together. And yeah, they didn't play the Camille variation of this to kill the enemy Zeri in team fights because they didn't have to, because they had bottom prio, they got so ahead. And
the best way to do it is, yeah, like Ghost wasn't even in the last team fight, right? He just couldn't get there, I guess.
He's not in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, he unfortunately is just not able to farm, like, at all. And this is something we talked about from the outset of the draft, is what happens when the turrets disappear with this Twisted Fate comp. You just can't farm, you can't be on the map, you can't do anything. So, you know, it's just like not even Ghost's fault. He's just like trying to do his job. If he leaves, he's not getting CS, so it doesn't even matter. You know, like, are you even alive? Do you even exist? This is the Baron take, of course. Nice attempt from Dread. I mean, he did what he could given the circumstances, but we can't. I can't see more drafts like this. I mean, it's just, we've seen this so many times. There's been like 1 out of a million where the Zeri just wins the lane, and it's like, oh, okay, this is fine. Like, this is okay.
But not into Caitlyn combo. You're never going to win that. I think hats off to coaching staff and the drafting staff of KT. Yeah, Hirai definitely did a great job here. They baited the Zeri pick, and then they punished it accordingly. So Nongshim kind of walking into the KT trap, but KT being able to set it up so nicely needs to be rewarded, right? Like, you can say what you want about, you know, Nongshim and the draft and it didn't work, but you also have to applaud a team that managed to punish.
Yeah, and they also played it very well. Their execution has been great.
Well, now we're going to go for one last-ditch effort as in goes Dread towards the backline. He's dead instantly, so is Peter. And now Cuz is just celebrating with gigantic ultimates. The Destiny was there, but it doesn't really do anything. Ghost is real dead. Heroic entrance comes down, and Rascal just comes in from the top lane. BDD's going to go golden. He's going to see his death for a little while, but oh my god, the burst damage onto that Gnar was obscene. It's a double kill for the Caitlyn to end this one off. And KT will mercifully take down these Nexus turrets, because this game was not close in even the slightest regard. 15,000 gold at 25 minutes. And KT, they put their best foot forward, trying to get towards the playoffs.
A 7th win, tying themselves with Frederick Brion, but one game puts them ahead of Frederick Brion. They're at -4 to Frederick Brion's -5. If they both go 0-2 to their opponents, Frederick Brion facing Damwon Kia and KT facing against Gen G, it will not change Frederick Brion's destiny. They will have to win a game, and then KT will have to go 0-2 in order to then tie KT.
Yep. And this head is also tied between KT and Frederick Brion. The most recent match was a 2-0 in favor of Frederick Brion, right, against KT.
And KT also were able to defeat Gen G last time.
Cuz decided to leave before bowing. Now we don't know where anyone's going. Musical KT players. There we go. Nailed it in the end.
Now, this is assuming Frederick Brion can field a roster on that match against Damwon Kia, and if they do, will it be mostly challenger players? Like, there's a lot on the line here. Like, I feel like the more this becomes unlikely for Frederick Brion, the more likely we are to have like the most crazy miracle situation.
Well,
like,
it could still happen. So
it still could happen.
Those of you that are throwing your prages in the chat, like, there is still hope for Frederick Brion, but it is looking slimmer and slimmer as the days go by, unfortunately. This is to harken back to the fact that there is just one match today. This will be the last one that we've had here. Frederick Brion, no one is well enough to play from the challenger team to the main roster, and therefore they did have to forfeit their match against Gen G. Not one that they were likely to win, but as we've stated already, each game is so important.
Yeah, taking just one game.
And what is Frederick Brion really good at with their main roster? Taking a game, right?
Yeah, that is exactly what they do.
Yeah.
It's not over till it's over, and of course, you know, if you're a Frederick Brion fan, you're also hoping maybe Kwangdong slip up. You know, they mess up in that Hana Life or Live Sandbox series, because that's one other way you have in. But I mean, that is, of all scenarios, the least likely. So that's why we're kind of saying, assuming this, let's talk about the possibilities. And we talked about it on Pog State last week. It's all kind of coming to an end here at that 7-11 split, as KT, it was a tougher series, I think, than most expected for them tonight. But both of their wins were very one-sided. They get the reverse sweep.
Yeah, it was some really great drafting in the last game from KT. Yes, Nongshim sort of like took the bait pretty ridiculously, but that still had to be set up, right?
Yeah, and also I think KT showcased really good depth of drafting in Game 2 as well. They showed they can play a late game scaling comp. They will do it. They will play it well. And that's exciting.
I like the Rek'Sai with the cute eyes.
Yeah.
She doesn't see very well though, so I don't know what they're quite doing there, but definitely very, very cute. Let's have a look at some of the highlights here though, as Peter having a bit of a roughie in this game.
I will change focus away from KT and playoff chances to talk about the fact that Nongshim have struggled to not only find a support that works for them, but they've switched between them so many times that it's hard to know who the main support for this roster is. They didn't sub Effort in after Game 1 because they won it. They didn't sub him in after Game 2 though, and it was Peter all night long, and he started, you know, this season with the Yuumi pick, and now we're back on it, things like this. But there's not a lot of great support free agents right now, and even the ones in challenges are very likely to leave and actually join Nongshim. So something's going to have to change, either Peter or Effort, and Nongshim I think needs to pick one of those two supports and just go with it. They're going to have to spend this offseason really tightening up some of the positional errors that we've seen both players plagued by. Like, it's been both of them having the exact same problem, which is, I think, relatively easy to solve if the communication is good and the coaching is good during the offseason, but
yeah, I think that they just need to spend some time building that synergy and trying to come together, trying to get the monkey off their back, right? Remember, Dread started the season with like 600 POG points and has since then really not found himself, right? Like, this is a guy that is a momentum player, right? We've spoken about this in the past, but he really has kind of fallen off a cliff after, you know, all of these COVID
Kana,
problems.
BE, same story with the momentum, and sometimes for players like that, the thing you need most is a clean slate, and that is what they will be given going into summer season, of course.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tragedy here, but Nongshim, of course, already out of playoff contention. They were just playing spoiler in this game, and they managed to take the first one. Like, game number 1 actually looked great from Nongshim, right?
Yeah.
Casting our minds back, but KT proved to be the more consistent team on the day, and I think that that's been a lot of the opposition to Nongshim, as we have a listen to KT in the last moment.
앞으로 가야 돼, 앞으로 가야 돼.
Push.
앞으로 봐라.
갈게, 나.
안 떨어지려. 앞으로 가자. 쭉 가자. 쭉 가자. 쭉 가자. 쭉 가자. 끝내자.
Grab him,
쭉 가자.
basically.
앞으로 쭉
Blow him
가자.
up.
페페 노플이야. 나르드 노플.
내킬.
Pulling out no flashes.
내 거.
That's mine. I think that's what he said.
수고했다.
내꺼.
다행이네.
And that's 다행이네. Such a relief that they actually are able to take this one. It was a lot more stressful, I think, than even they expected going to this one.
유미까지 잡을까?
Their tough match of the week is definitely the Gen G one later on.
Yep. And it may not necessarily matter that much to them, right? It all depends on what Fredit put forward first. But Fredit technically getting eliminated 2-0 against Gen G in our next matchup. Weren't able to field a team, therefore not going to be able to participate, but it wasn't likely that they were going to win that one necessarily. So it all comes down to their match against Damwon Kia. KT up against Gen G, another difficult one, right? Like, if you put all of the matchups down on paper, this week was pretty easy to predict. I think all of us unanimously said that KT were likely to win this game against Nongshim, but that one win might actually really help Fredit Brion, right? Nongshim being able to take one game really does, you know, it stops that one extra game from being necessary, and might mean that if one game is picked up against Damwon Kia for Fredit Brion later, there's a chance that things could come forward. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to throw it back to the gentlemen, or the Shens, on the analyst carpet space to break down the series.
Hello guys, it is me, Akali, with Kenan here, and we're going to break down game number 3 of that series. A great job by KT, a very one-sided game. Essentially, you know, they came online. I thought the draft was pretty good, and they got Karma Caitlyn, and the game ended.
Why would you lock in Yuumi? Why? I don't know. I think the Zarya in of itself is kind of risky, but if you don't pair it with something that at the very least has kill Fred, you're gonna lose bot lane, and they did. and then they couldn't really do anything with the TF, and then there was solo kills on top side, and that's all your win conditions gone. And then we're not even talking about what actually happened in game, but just stop trying to make Zeri Yumi work into Kate Karma. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna happen. Huh, I saw that, I was like, well, I guess this is game. And like, it's the equivalent of just picking no prior lanes, right? Like, you're gonna get pummeled so hard, or picking like, there's so many examples, but all of them are just don't do it. Don't think you can get away with it, because you can't. How many times do we need to see this?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just in their mind, you know, Zeri Yumi, good
It is
duo,
a great lane.
and Peter's a great Yumi player, so it's like, hey, let's do it.
If you're playing it, it's like Jinx, Kench, you know, like then I'm fine with it. But if Kate Karma's open, the cast has pointed it out, can't do it.
Yeah, and that was really the biggest thing. I mean, other than that, you know, the Tryndamere getting through as well. I think Tryndamere, as we talked about with some of the Hullbreaker changes, it kind of gains some priority there, even though it did get nerfed for range, but it kind of, you know, some of those matchups can make it a little bit easier for the Tryndamere, as some of his opponents would not build that item. But we are going to take a look at the highlights now, as all starts over here. This is a very weird game, kind of all over the place.
There was a lot of level 1 shenanigans here as well, but I'd rather not revisit those. Instead, it was a wonderful example of the old Wumba combo. Unfortunately, Dread, one of the many times that he would Cataclysm into certain death. And honestly, this is to me the game-winning play. Effectively a Vikla highlight, if I'm being completely honest. Just really well played, the Galio throughout of it. And here he comes. The man, the myth, the legend.
Even
He
picks
gets
up the eye.
I know, he gets the eye. He comes in, he saves Rascal, he gets the ignite, he does it all.
One auto, that's all you need.
Wonderful. And from this point on, the game was over, because you're never going to scale into your Zeri Yumi, you're losing sides, and the enemy team, Galio and Volibear, are pretty good at diving. Oh, Tryndamere as well. That's fun.
With the Karma just to help everybody. Yeah, you know, I think the draft kind of spelled it out, and then when the execution was like that, like, maybe if Nongshim get ahead and it's a little bit more even through the mid game, you can see a little bit of a different game, but it just wasn't really going to happen with that draft. So we're going to take a look at highlight number 2. This is basically just the final fight as they crush him.
Just showcases like how far ahead they truly are. I got him locked on. I mean, guys.
Hey man, he was there.
But
he was there. He saw everything.
Yeah.
Happen.
I mean, at this point, there is no amount of play that can really showcase it. And the reason why we're not showcasing anything in between is because honestly, it was just basically a downhill spiral, right? Like every skirmish went wrong. Every attempt at a play was countered, and this is the problem that you have, especially with Twisted Fate, is that he loses a lot of value when he's behind. And the Galio Twisted Fate matchup is just really binary. Like, whoever gets ahead can continuously set up plays and make everything work, and the other one is just standing there and going, well.
Yeah. He's always behind the play. It's like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm here. I responded, and then you know, I threw a card, and everybody was already running anyway, so it doesn't really help that much. Guys, we're going to take a look at the POG for game number 3. It will be life. He actually does get it for game 3.
Oh, look at him. Wonderful Karma game. Impeccable play. And honestly, I wasn't necessarily expecting it to be as impactful. Generally, when we're excited about life, it's more so about life, the set player. But honestly, super impactful game around the Karma, able to be in a lot of the roams, set up so many of these type of plays. And it also has to be said, I think that Ghost and Peter both had a pretty abhorrent game after what was honestly a really good first game, right? And this kind of inconsistency has just been playing in Nongshim. This, of course, was the play that got him the POG, pick up the eye, get the kills, and this was effectively the game-winning play. As off of this, the snowball was just way too much. And
remember this?
Oh yeah,
when he survived real well.
Big fan. Still died, but what he did before he died is what mattered. You know,
he just expertly baited the enemy team into a really disadvantaged position.
Thank you, Wolf. Yes.
Even the observers, and you got one media guy who's with you. Look at that.
Beautiful.
That's really cool. We did have 4 votes for mid. for Vikla there, and assorted votes elsewhere as well to the other 3 members. But guys, we do have the interview ready. I'm gonna see if Ji-sung can translate that for us right now.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Ji-sun for the POG interview translation, joined by the bottom duo of KT Roaster. You guys are one step closer to the playoffs. Now, with this victory, you're having 81% of chances to making into playoffs. Yeah, I heard that we'll be able to have about 80% chance. So I'm so glad that we're able to make a jump with our probability. What about your life? 80%, you know, sounds good. But if we get to win the next one, it's gonna be 100% anyway. So I'm not gonna pay too much attention to the numbers. Yeah, I mean, like making playoffs is not the final goal of KT Roaster, right? Speaking of today's series, you guys are able to have a lot of actions around the bottom lane, a lot of target bans, a lot of priority with the draft. So what was the theme of KT's kind of play style today? Well, so in game number 1, I didn't expect them to ban any marksman. So because of that, we didn't have prio down on the bottom lane. So later on in game 2 and 3, we wanted to have prio in lane, on the bottom lane especially. So we kind of shifted our style. So Caitlyn Karma were able to just dominate the lane and even the entire map. Caitlyn Karma is not our go-to comp, but we still know how everything goes. So we tried to make a lot of actions on the bottom lane. So you did win the series, but game 3, especially the invade, was a very bad incident for KT Roaster. How did you guys manage to come back after having such an accident? Well, yeah, in the early game we kind of lost a lot, and then we were able to kind of trade it back around the blue buff, so we didn't really feel too concerned about that. And J4 was actually able to kind of buy more time. I mean, like, he invaded and he lost a lot of time because Volibear played so well. And what happened after that? Like, were you concerned about the location of the opponent jungler? I mean, the opponent was playing Zeri Yumi and we had flashes, so we were not feeling the pressure of the potential gank. So yeah, everything was fine. I have a question about the Volibear pick, because, you know, he's really good at that champion. But what about you guys? What do you think of that pick? Volibear? Well, it's really good in terms of kind of empowering the lanes that have prio, and Cuz is really good at it, so we wanted to kind of try that out a lot more. Yeah, I mean, I always trust Cuz. Whatever he plays, you know, doesn't matter if he plays something weird, I always trust him. I wonder what are those weird picks that Cuz will try in the future, but aiming. We want to ask about Kai'Sa. You know, that's one of your signature picks. Do you think Kai'Sa is a dive comp or part of a poke comp? I mean, she's flexible. She can play with both comps, so she has a very high prio right now. Amy, what about you? What do you prefer, dive comp or poke comp? I prefer dive comp. Why is that? Does that fit Kai'Sa better? It's more flashy, you know, it's cooler. They can kill them all, but poke is like poking in the back line. Not cool. Game 3, Karma was your pick for the POG. You had phenomenal plays, incredible KDA. The life, I think Karma itself has a lot of kind of opinions about how to use that champion. Is that really good? Is that really a high priority pick? So could you kind of break it down for us? Well, for me, personally, I really like it a lot. I played it a lot on solo queue, but I was not able to have a great success, but still, I trusted my team. My coaching staff was trusting me, so they kind of helped me to have bigger confidence. Aiming, you are the one that loves Mantra Q. Sometimes some people say like Mantra Shield could have been better. What do you think? I mean, he's really bad at landing those RQ, you know? He's so bad, he sucks. So I'm like, you don't land it, so just don't use it. Just use it for shields. So I'm like, I don't understand why you keep using the empowered Q instead of empowered shields. Life, what's your response? I mean, Mantra Shield got so many nerfs. So before you get Shurelius, it's actually not worth it, you know? You should just use Mantra Q, but yeah, you do have to lend those. But I still hope my teammates trust me and let me use the empowered Q instead of shields. And trusting is the key to KT's kind of teamwork, so I hope you guys keep working that way. And Rascal, with the solo kills he secured today, he is now tied with Kana with 28 solo kills in a single regular split. Well, in fact, Rascal says he's not paying attention to it, you know, he's not greedy about solo kills, but from what I know of, I'm pretty sure it's all in his head, you know. He's just pretending. And Aiming, you were the solo POG in the previous series, and then you managed to pick up another POG today. How do you think your performance is right now? I usually kind of check my performance based on my solo queue performance, and recently I've been having a good time. I think it's decent. On a scale of 100. 70 maybe? Out of 100. KT Roaster, your next opponent is Genji, and that's gonna be a must-win match for you guys to kind of secure a spot in playoffs, and you did beat them in round 1. Well, I was in KT in 2020, and I was never able to beat Genji back in those days. And this time around, I was able to kind of flip that, and I'm looking forward to another rematch against Genji, and I hope I can repeat the victory. What about you, Life? Well, Ruler is in Genji, and Peanut, you know, I used to play with him once in Genji as well, so that's gonna be a very easy win for us based on the information I have. And this will be the end of the interview from Aiming Live from KT Roaster, and back to Analyst Carpet Space with Ninjas. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji-sun, for that wonderful translation of the interview. Very excited for that matchup that we will have between KT and Genji. But first off, let's take a look at the standings and see, what does this mean? Where are we situated now with the 2-1 victory from KT?
As the cast already talked about, key thing here, of course, is that KT right now are in a position to get a playoff spot, which would be incredible for them. Right now, Fred Brian is still in the 6th place, but provided Kwangdong, as expected, win against Liv Sandbox and Home Alive this week, it's going to be still between KT and Fred Brian. So any single game, any match can still change who actually makes it through. And it wouldn't be the first time that Kwangdong randomly drop out for no reason, but honestly, looking at how they performed recently, tomorrow's match against Home Alive should be no problem. And it's not even the highlight of the day.
Yeah, it's not even the highlight of the day, but a very important match either way. Match 83 though, DRX up against Damwon Kia. That is going to be a bop. Ready for that one. And of course, that will be just tomorrow. We do not have a second series today, guys, but we do have the Pog State coming up soon after the show. Definitely take a look at that, a bit more fun of an episode. Talking a bit more about the LCK playoffs. You can check out that on the LCK YouTube, of course, so make sure you guys do check that out. Will be an awesome episode. But that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you once again for watching this series with us, and we'll see you tomorrow for more of the LCK.
Standing on the edge of this big love.
down.